8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
PokerStars announces the World Championship of Online Poker.
$2.1 million.
More than 10,000 players.
33 events this year.
And for the first time, $1 million score. Wcoop 2009. What a
Over
year.
$2.2 million for first. That's
The
insane.
taxi driver who satellited in takes home $1 million. Crown-up guy is the world
This kid is
champion.
1 to 1.
Sean Deeb consistently crushing Wcoop.
What a lineup.
Adrenaline 710, 5 titles in 1 series. And it's PT Fisherman who reels in the main event trophy.
2021, the year of Talal.
Wcoop is still the title every online player wants to win.
This is where world champions are made.
Welcome to the PokerStars Arena and the 2022 World Championship of Online Poker. Here we go, our first day of streaming, and it is a World Championship event. The 5K Progressive Knockout No Limit Hold'em, 217 total entries. They played down to the final 9 last night. Now we have the final table, playing for a first prize of nearly 100k plus bounties and a stacked lineup at that FT. I am James Hartigan. Alongside me is Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my babies.
Joe, in the final 9, not 1, but 2 red spades, one of whom is Spraggy, who is going for his 3rd Wcoop tonight.
That is incredible that he already has 2. I never would have guessed.
Well, let's get straight to the action because play is underway at the final table. The other PokerStars ambassador who's made it to this final table is Papo MC, Alejandro Lococo, who's put up some amazing results in the last couple of years and has Ace Jack here, has decided to get involved, and we have an all-in from Olashemian.
Wow.
Wizzo with Jack 9 of diamonds, a dominated hand.
Ooh, has Papo just barely covered, too.
Yeah. That's the
Maybe.
problem. All in to call with Ace Jack, and you can't even win a bounty.
Yeah, factoring that in, just knows that Papo, is going to have to lay down a lot right there.
So we are picking up the action with the blinds at 25,000, 50,000. Blinds will go up every 30 minutes. Now we're at the final table. They will play down to a winner tonight. We've already name-checked Spraggy, Papo, and Olashemian. The chip leader coming into play tonight is Clem90. That is Clemens Reuter, an Austrian mid to high stakes reg who had a couple of cashes at EPT Barcelona last month, has $2.2 million in PokerStars earnings, and final tabled a Wcoop event a couple of years ago, looking for his first win tonight.
Yes, Clem, I can hear you.
We've also got Monkey Boss. That is David Lacka, originally from Spain, now playing from Ukraine. And that is a straight. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a straight against a set. And Shemian betting that set of 6s on the turn, 108k. There is the raise from Monkey Boss.
Yeah, I don't think you're expecting a whole lot of 9s here. This is middle position.
Yeah.
There are some. Just not as many as you would expect from later, like your Jack 9s and your 9-10s and your Queen 9s and your King 9s.
So Shemian calls the raise. We get to the river, which is the Queen of Spades. So some other straight combos get there. And how big a value bet gets paid off is the question. We're looking at nearly $1 million in the middle, 951,760. And having check raised the turn, Monkey Boss may well now go for value on the river. Yeah, goes for roughly half pot, 518,880.
This is pretty value-y.
But Shemian does have a set, and it's hard to fold premium hands like this.
Well, especially not knowing what the history is between Olashemian and Monkey Bouse.
Yeah, yeah. Shemian utilizing some of that time bank, still has 2 minutes of clock to use. Obviously we can see the payouts and we can see the value of laddering up as Shemian makes the call and Monkey Boss gets paid off and is up over 4 million. Let's bring Maria Ho into the action. Maria, welcome to Wcoop 2022.
That intro was so exciting. I honestly, props to everybody that put that together. But yes, hi, and I'm excited to be here.
20 years of history, Maria. Wcoop dates back to 2002, and here we are with World Championship events on the schedule this year, 12 of them. This being the first. We will decide tonight who is the world champion of Progressive Knockout No Limit Hold'em. The question, will it be Spraggy?
Yeah, pretty exciting final table in terms of the cast of characters here. I mean, definitely with the PKO format, we already know that the play is going to go a little bit fast and be a little bit on the aggressive side in terms of calling off for the bounties. But I think with these players especially, it might be even more action-packed.
So one thing I should highlight as we get Monkey Boss opening here with King 3, only to be re-raised by Clem 90. Spraggy has that red target. Spraggy is the single biggest bounty available at the final table. He eliminated 3 players in the last half hour of action last night, and I'm sure many of you have seen the clip on social media, the double KO of Patrick Leonard and Jerry O'Dean, which earned him a huge bounty. So Spraggy's worth 14k if you can knock him out, and he is one of the shortest stacks right now. He is vulnerable. Wow.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Monkey Boss does not believe Clem.
And this is a battle of the 2 biggest stacks at the final table. I don't think Clem is folding, Maria.
No, and obviously you never want to get into a position to be playing such a big pot pre with the other big stack, but you know what you have to do in this spot.
How
So
happy are you,
Clem-
though, where you jam ace king and get a fold there, right? And just pick up 900k without having
Absolutely.
to, flip?
Absolutely. That sees Clem 90. That sees Clemens Reuter extend his chip lead, 5.4 million. Wizzo Olashemian, the shortest stack now with 1.1 million. Shemian, a player we're very familiar with from the live circuit, also has won a fair amount online as well, including a Wcoop title back in 2018. This is Voskob going to the flop against I Can Do It. I Can Do It, representing the UK, a player with just 25k in Stars earnings, has only played 76 MTTs on Stars, and this is the highest buy-in event they've played yet.
I got to imagine there aren't a lot of Malcolm in the Middle themed screen names either on the site. You've got to be one of, I don't know, 10 people out of hundreds of millions.
Well, if the name N Voskob 1986 looks familiar to you, that's because this player came second, was the runner-up in the 25k Super High Roller in Scoop 2022. That was worth nearly $300,000. First prize tonight will be 93k plus bounties. And are we going to see another clash between these two? The boss elects just to call in the big blind. Has not improved on the flop. Ace-Jack better than a 4-1 favourite.
Yeah, I do like the check back with ace-jack a lot of the times. You know, you have good showdown value and you don't necessarily want to play a big pot.
Well, action is checked to Clem, and Clem again checks it back. There were some opportunities with the pair of sevens on the turn, but nope, this is going to be an outright win for ace-jack, assuming this hand gets to showdown. Boom.
I don't know what I would have done if we had to sing the Chop Pot song within the first 10 minutes of the broadcast.
Oh, boy.
I mean, I'm not ready for that.
No one is.
Okay, here we go. 1 and 2 in chips. Potentially going to battle once again. 9-8 suited versus ace-10. Just a complete from David Lacker in the small blind. And now the raise from Clemens Reuter in the big. Ooh,
Wow.
top pair versus a flush draw with my reputation.
Yeah, definitely a
Hell.
hand that, of course, Clem's going to go for value in this spot.
Yes. But you can't go folding flush draws. You can, however, check raise with them.
You can't go
Yeah,
chasing
some-
waterfalls, and you can't go folding flush draws.
And in some ways, you know, you want to check raise that type of board texture with your flush draw because you feel like that's more of your board than perhaps the pre-flop aggressor's board. But
Yeah.
obviously, once you get called, I would imagine, especially with this type of turn card, you're going to slow down and just try to realize your equity cheaply.
Interesting. Having check raised the flop, Monkey Boss does not barrel the turn, checks the action to Clem. And the chip leader
I was
checks
hoping
it
for-
back as the board
The 7 was
bricks
coming.
out for David Lacker. Could bluff at it. No. And looks like this is going to be more chips for Clemens Reuter, extending his chip lead. And it will also see Monkey Boss drop down the rankings.
Yeah, this went from the 2 biggest stacks at the table to the biggest stack at the table and a stack at the table.
Yeah, it is now MB Tremendo. That is Mario Bonanata, who is officially second. Oh, we could see Spraggy play a hand here. Pocket nines. Spraggy on the shortish side. Opens to 110,000.
On the shortest side and with a very delectable bounty.
Yeah. Flattered by the chip leader with deuces in the small and loose control. A Wcoop winner from 2017 calls as well, and look at
Oh,
this
boy.
board. It's low cards. 9's still the best hand, but it's the open-ended straight draw for Clem.
My
Yeah,
heart
obviously-
can't take an early exit from Spraggy here, guys.
I mean, I don't think any of the viewers can take it either, but obviously with that big of a bounty, other players are going to be
what's happening here?
incentivized.
Yeah, it's like I was thinking this is all going to be about the overpair versus the straight draw, and then this player has decided to lose control.
You can't Sorry, I'm relatively new to PK. I was not sure I've played very many of them. You can't bluff someone out of their bounty, can you?
No.
Okay. It's a very odd bluff here.
Although I have to say, I quite like this as the idea of a game format, that if you manage to bluff someone out of a big hand, you win a percentage of their bounty.
Wow.
Yay.
And I mean, that lead out of loose control actually might have saved Spraggy, because now we don't see the run out because Clem folded the flop, but who knows if it had gone check to Spraggy in that spot, what Clem would have wanted to do against a C-bet.
Okay, so Voskov has aces, opens to 100k. It's Papo's big blind. I mentioned some of Papo's results. I mean, deep runs in back-to-back World Series of Poker main events, made the final table in 2021. Also won that Eureka main event in Prague back in March for more than 400 grand, and won a Hyper Turbo in Barcelona just a couple of weeks ago, rather, for 63k, and has flopped top pair here, which could be dangerous.
Oh. You know, you mentioned Papo's deep runs and all these things, and we've seen the results and we've been around, but we actually haven't seen him play all that much. So I'm hoping he sticks around for a little while here so we can see some of the method being employed.
Again, started this hand as one of the shortest stacks, but Voskov isn't that deep either. Ace is now close to a 9-1 favorite. And is Voskov going to bet again, having continued flop?
You don't really have to bet that much here to get it in on the river.
Yeah, I mean, naturally, Queen 10 gets there, and of course, your opponent can have, you know, some King Jack combos, but you're going to be getting a lot of value out of all of their other King X, considering most players are going to be defending with almost every King X suited and unsuited in this spot.
Well, 375,000, and if this gets called, we are going to be playing for stacks come the river.
Yeah, pretty tough decision for Papao here. Just knowing that, you know, it's not going to be the best hand very often, especially against a potential triple barrel. I mean, that river card might change things, but you have the full awareness that a lot of the times on the river, you're going to be up against a shove, and then you're not really going to know what to do with the hand like King 8.
Yeah. Okay, Papo checks a third time, and Voskov goes for it all. It's all into call for Papo, who's got top pair with the jacks on board, but is losing to aces. He calls it.
No!
And we get our first KO. Papo MC, Alejandro Lococo eliminated in 9th place. Cash is 13k plus 6 grand in bounties, leaving Spraggy as the last remaining representative of Team Pro.
You know, in Papo's defense, he was kind of right. You know, he probably put his opponent on a lot of hands with the ace of clubs in it. So, you know, there's something to that.
Yeah. Now, you were saying something earlier on, Maria, about the Chop Pot song. Oh, diamonds are dangerous, but no. This is going to be a chop. And ladies and gentlemen, you know what they say.
Everyone
loves a chop pot. Sorry, you're saying that me and James were great and it was Maria that was off? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what's being said here?
I just know that I'm supposed to... I'm done. I don't know why I constantly have to go in defense mode for this. This is ridiculous, actually. Guys, is it my break yet? No? Okay.
We're getting sevens across the board. 6.5.
I would take a 7. I would take a 7
I'll take a
right
7.
now.
I'm okay with a 7. My whole career is a 7.
Just to move swiftly on, and a quick PSA, and Joe, I know you're pretty hot on this kind of thing. Obviously, we know that Spraggy is streaming. He is on a much shorter delay. We're on a 30-minute delay because we're showing all of the cards. We have to just extend that warning that if you know what's coming, if you know what's happened already, please don't spoil it. Let's all observe the 30-minute delay. Let's all behave like we're seeing this for the first time. We are, but I appreciate some of you may not be, but don't even pretend to guess. It's just not funny.
I'm going to go ahead and just say, and also pick a lane. Go hang with Spraggy or hang with us, but just no insies, outies, all right? Just stick with one. Don't tempt yourself. Lose control with another.
Yeah.
Another fire with an air ball.
And
into
Clem,
top pair.
With top pair and backdoor potential, and there we go. There is the straight draw now on the turn to go with that pair of 8s.
Yeah, it certainly makes it a lot easier to continue for Clem, but will lose control. Try to fire another barrel. I mean, SPR is a little weird and uncomfortable to try to go turn and river. That's a potentially interesting card, though.
Yeah, I often describe this as an inconsequential Barry in the sense that it doesn't change the outcome of the hand, but it changes perception. And Clem might be concerned that lose control has an ace. Can lose control represent? $638,000. And if Clem can find a call here, I will be impressed.
This is such a tough call.
It really is. I mean, definitely a good sizing choice, I think, by lose control.
Oh,
wow!
Turns it into
I always
a bluff.
forget you don't have to call.
That is
Right?
true. And we are now seeing Clem emerge as quite a strong chip leader, 7.7 million. Voscob, the second biggest stack, with 3.6 million. So better than a 2-to-1 chip advantage for Clemens Reuter right now over the rest of this final table, as Olashemian is back in action. A virtual all-in, a very committing raise with King-Queen, but gets folds from everyone else. Oh, Spraggy's got queens. Opens to 132,000. Gets called by Kojak.
Couple of kings out.
Yeah, it's going to be the 2 jacks on the board that get him. Or maybe the straight.
I mean, since blockers aren't real, all the kings are live, all the 9s are live. 4 jacks still live.
Well, Spraggy goes for it. 144 into 456. Snap called by King Jack. And it's Monkey Boss who's got the open-ended draw.
I feel like that's a relatively small bet considering how easy it is to have a piece of this, Maria. What do you think?
Yeah, but I think especially when you're up against 2 opponents, I don't think Spraggy wanted to make a committing type of c-bet. Because
right, it's his stack size. Right, of course.
And suffice to say, that was a horrible turn card for Spraggles, who is now drawing dead as Monkey Boss, who has the straight, takes over the betting and goes even smaller than Spraggy did on the flop, Maria.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely an interesting
rude.
sizing considering the flush draw is still possible and you're up against two opponents. You probably want to give your straight a little more protection than that.
Oh, well, that
Wow.
changes everything. Now
Yeah,
it's the straight to the jack for Voskov.
Yeah, and certainly made it such an enticing price for Voskov to come along, and now that's the real sizing.
Yeah, 816 into 1.16 million. And you're just like, oh, God. Am I getting bluffed off a chop? No, you're not.
I do think that when the small blind calls a raise pre-flop, they do have quite a few hands in that, you know, sometimes the suited broadways they might 3-bet, but, you know, obviously
Yeah.
with the unsuited combinations they'll call, especially against a late position open. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of other type of hands that they would have called the flop, called the turn with, and now leading into the river. It feels very plausible. They do have a lot of Jack X type combinations. So again, we don't really know the history or any dynamics that come into play between these two specific players on their way to the final table, but definitely in terms of ranges, it feels
So
very plausible.
What are some of the worst hands? Like, what hands are you beating here? Like 10? Like, what is someone calling with out of the small blind that doesn't have a jack here that's going to bluff at this? I don't think a lot, right?
Yeah, they have some two-pair combos, certainly, you know, all of the
Right, like
suited
10-9 and
connectors.
10-8 maybe.
Yeah, yeah, but they have just as many Jack 10, Queen Jack, King Jack.
Well, as the players are taking their first break, we're going to let Maria take 5 because it's time that we gave the 2022 World Championship of Online Poker a proper introduction. This is our first day of live coverage. It's the second day of the series. So let's check on the early headlines and also let's preview what is coming up in the next few weeks. It's time to introduce our Wcoop correspondent. Ladies and gentlemen, he is back. He's got the looks, he's got the brains, he's Howard Swains. Howard, welcome. A great start to Wcoop from our perspective. We've got this final table of the 5K PKO, and as we've mentioned a few times, this is the first of 12 of these World Championship events.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of the main change from this year's Wcoop schedule to what we're used to seeing. In addition to these sort of regular Wcoop schedule, we've got these standalone World Championships in numerous disciplines. We've got a horse event, we've got a Badoogie event, we've got a heads up, and there's a women's championship too. And so this might sound like a canoe thing, like an innovation, but in actual fact, it sort of in some ways harks back to what Wcoop used to be. When it first started all those years ago, it was kind of like more of a high buy-in tournament series without the tiered structures. So it sort of feels a bit like we're going back to that in some ways. It means that at the end of the series, we've got a 10K main event, which is going to be the World Championship of No Limit Hold'em. So there's just this added layer of prestige again onto Wcoop.
Cool.
Okay, so speaking of prestige, at WrestleMania, there's a few matches for belts. Those are the championship events. I get that. There's 12 of those in Wcoop. But there's some other matches along the way, some that aren't for belts. And I'm guessing, we got a couple of those, like maybe like a couple dozen?
A couple of dozen and a couple of dozen more. Yeah, we've got 322 total tournaments.
Okay.
That means like $85 million guaranteed prize pools along the way. Most of those still have the low, medium, and high tiered buy-ins. So there's like 104 events with low, medium, and high. I mean, for instance, there were like 19 tournaments that started last night. It was a very busy Sunday to kick off Wcoop. Only 3 finished, but plenty started.
So that's 3 wins for Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair assumption, but actually we only had 1 Brazilian winner. There was one Brazilian, 1 Ukrainian, and a Swedish player who you might have heard of, Simon Mattsson, C. Darwin 2. He was the first winner of this year's Wcoop, and that's actually his first ever Wcoop title.
What? If I had papers in front of me, I'd be shuffling them furiously to fact check that. Obviously, I have nothing in front of me. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same thing. I was double checking, triple checking. I thought there was something wrong with the spreadsheet, but so I have checked. As far as I can see, he's won a Wcoop Second Chance event, which is not an official tournament. He's come runner-up a couple of times, but this guy's got 5 Scoop titles. He's won more in online poker than anybody else, but he's never won a Wcoop event until last night. So good for him. He won a 530 buy-in no limit hold'em event. He won 52K, including bounties. That's the Sunday cool down, so that is his first title.
Only Simon Matson would win a Wcoop, and it's known as a cool down.
He does things his own way, I guess. Obviously, Howard, far too early to start talking about player of the series, and I'm guessing with only 3 tournaments in the books, the stat tracker is looking a little bit thin right now.
Yeah, that's right. As you well know, we only the stat tracker only like looks at completed events, and in those completed events, we've had 13,535 entries, nearly 600K in prize money. But with all those events starting yesterday and them all concluding tonight, it's going to get really big. Those numbers are going to go up and up very quickly, very soon.
And of course, we'll have another update from you tomorrow. And even when we're not streaming, you have daily updates from Howard Swains on the PokerStars blog. But for now, Howard, thank you.
You're welcome. See you soon.
Table of this 5K PKO event, and that is the World Championship Trophy that will be presented to the winner of this tournament. 8 remain right now, including Spraggy, who is one of the shortest stacks right now. It is Clem 90, Clemens Reuter from Austria, who has the chip lead right now, and quite a strong lead, 7.7 million. As we return from break and begin another 55 minutes of action. Joe's going to take a short break. Maria Ho still sits alongside me, James Hartigan. And they are underway again, Maria. Blinds 30,000, 60,000.
Yeah, I mean, Clem in a really short period of time has really separated himself from everyone else.
And every pot we've seen played between Monkey Boss and Clem has gone in Clem's direction. And again, Clem wielding that chip lead, playing aggressively, and has Monkey Boss dominated. Well, King High still the best hand on an ace 9-4 flop. So check on the flop. And Monkey Boss decides to take a stab at this. 303,000.
Yeah, I mean, off that stack size, certainly Monkey Boss does have some limp calls with ace X's that, you know, aren't the strongest ace X's. So here, just obviously trying to represent top pair. Well, that's going to be a tough river to continue to barrel on.
Can't miss an opportunity to get my Flaming Barry out. And it's another win for Clem, who moves over the 8 million mark. And we've reached that stage, Maria, where laddering has to be a consideration for these players. Once you reach the final table, the payouts are now not insignificant, and there are big gaps, big jumps with every single elimination, meaning that those kind of borderline decisions you may have taken earlier in the tournament because of the bounty, maybe you're less worried about those head prizes now and more worried about, you know, laddering up a couple of spots to win 26 instead of 15.
Yeah, definitely the bounty is not going to be worth as much in terms of the equity that they could potentially be giving up to call off light, and what that does for their stack size and how that would position themselves to perhaps finish in, you know, the top 3 or 5 spots where we see, but
I love that, and immediately a player proves me wrong. Voscob makes a loose call, going for loose controls bounty, but ace-8 holds, and that is going to be a double up for loose control. I guess where the bounty is 10 grand, though, that is still going to be a consideration.
Yeah, and it was really just a, I think, 12 or 13 big blind effective shoves, so they just feel like, okay, I might have live cards. They were obviously dominated, but a lot of times you will have live cards with 9-8.
Yeah. And loose control all in again, this time with ace-queen. Olashemian folds king-7, and Spraggy quickly folds the queen-jack that he opened with. Okay, well, we have ace-8 suited here for MB Tremendo, and pocket 10s for the chip leader, who just calls, and 10s still ahead. So, Tremendo, this is Mario Bonanata from Uruguay, a mid to high stakes regular who's got close to $5 million in PokerStars earnings. Has been a runner-up in Wcoop events twice, most recently in 2019 when he came second in a 10K PKO. And ooh, frisky.
Yeah, very much so, to go for the check raise as the pre-flop aggressor. Doesn't quite shake Clem yet, though.
And I note that Tremendo decides to slow things down on the turn, checks it to Clem. And 10's still the best hand.
Yeah, Clem clearly not able to bet the 10s on the turn. Obviously just wanting to get to showdown, and it looks like he will.
And Clem now closing on the 9 million mark. Well, let's introduce a very special guest on stream. Joining us from Casa del Spraggy, we're thrilled that Parker Talbot, Tonka himself, is with us. Tonka, how are you doing, sir?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you guys doing?
Good, thanks.
Good.
I'm assuming that as you exited this tournament in 18th place, you are now very much part of the Spraggy fan club.
I was a part of the Spraggy fan club while I was in the tournament, but of course.
Wow.
It was actually quite nice when we were both in the bubble and we both had like very short stacks. And we're like, well, one of us has to cash, you know? So wouldn't have been the worst no matter what. But yeah, no, I'm Spraggy's #1 fan, of course.
And right now, Spraggy's got a bit of work to do. Is the second shortest stack right now. Olashemian is officially at the bottom of the table right now with 1 million. Blinds will stay at 30-60 for another 16 minutes. So I'm just looking at the lobby, Tonka. 6,800 plus 8,400 in head prizes. Not a bad day's work for you.
It was a nice day saver. Put it
Right,
that way.
of course.
We still lost money on the day, but not very much.
Yes,
But,
I have to remember, as Howard told us, this is one of 19 tournaments that started yesterday, and that's just
Exactly.
the Wcoop schedule. There's all the other gubbins going on stars as well. No, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I absolutely did my plums and even just trying to satellite into this tournament in the 10K as well. So, you know, there's lots of buy-ins to play, so you gotta try to win one of these bad boys at some point. Hopefully, Spraggy can just get off to a beautiful start in this coop and just take this one down. He already has just a savage bounty. I stopped watching last night after I was done playing and streaming for about 15 minutes, and I looked back and he just had won $17,000 more in bounties or something.
Correct.
Was,
most of it in
unreal.
one single hand with that double KO. So, Maria, this is the stat that Joe didn't believe at the start of the day, as we see this kind of pre-flop racing war here between Voscob and I can do it. Spraggy is a 2-time WCoop winner already. Won his first WCoop in 2020, won his second in 2021, but the first one was a $5.50 turbo PKO, and first place was worth $4,300. So that one comes with an asterisk.
What do you mean it comes with an asterisk? How does that possibly come with an asterisk? You can't make a WCoop tournament and then be like, oh, you know what? This one doesn't count because it's too small.
Right.
No, of course it counts. Of course it counts. But now, of course, Parker, we are in a situation where not all animals are equal, because we do have these 12 World Championship events. They are on a different level. These wins would put you on a different pedestal.
That's true. That's very true. Nice story, actually. Spraggy and I, the second WCoop that he won, I also won a WCoop on that day. So it was a nice little moment that we shared together. It was a great little day for the boys. Would have been nice if we could have somehow both made this final table. That would have been amazing. But, you know, can't always get what we want.
Is this the first WCoop that you guys have grinded at the same place together?
Yes.
Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Maybe actually it's the first WCoop. I played Scoop here though, or like some Scoop here, semi recently, or another series. I honestly don't remember. But last time I was here, I also won a tournament here, and it was nice to shove it in Spraggy's face because it was the biggest score that was ever had in this house, which was funny, of course. But yeah, no, it is the first WCoop though. Yeah. Which has been very fun so far. Of course, I've only been here for about a week. We grinded 2 days, but yeah, I mean, it's fun I can literally hear him downstairs. I hope you guys can't hear it on the mic, but I can literally hear him blabbering to the stream downstairs. So
fortunately, we're not getting any spoilers. And again, I'm just going to highlight to everyone that we are streaming on a 30-minute delay. Spraggy's delay is probably close to 5 or 6 minutes. So, of course, you will get spoilers if you go over to Spraggy's stream. You're welcome to watch it from his perspective, but please, if you know what's coming, STFU.
So Clem's really been putting a show on so far, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I heard that he's been up to no good.
So many confrontations between Clem and Monkey Boss. Pretty much all of them have gone in Clem's direction, although this could turn things around. This is a flop flush. It's also a street flashboard.
He does opt to go for the bet, huh? Shouldn't be giving action, I guess.
I mean,
unless Clem is really a bad boy.
Yeah. We'll never know. We'll never know. So I guess Spraggy's in a bit of an insidious position right now with a million chips, kind of trying to ladder, and also knowing he can't get too out of line because of that 14k bounty on his head.
Yeah, he really just... this is kind of not a downfall of PKO tournaments, but just something that naturally happens when you get very short in PSKOs and you have a massive bounty. You're just incredibly handicapped, you know? Like, I actually, just as I was tuning in there, saw Spraggy open Queen Jack offsuit in middle position, which in my opinion is like a little bit of a lie. Just because, especially with like Clem on the button, I think it was, it's so obscenely difficult to like get an open through when you only have 20 big blinds and the biggest bounty in the tournament. Like once it comes down to the stretch here, the bounties become, you know, just as important as laddering, if not more important. As you can see, obviously, like knocking Spraggy out is worth almost 3 times, almost 3 times what a ladder is from 8 to 7. In fact, it is over 3 times. What am I saying? And beyond that, it's worth even more than the immediate cash value, because obviously when you knock Spraggy out and you go to 7 left, you now have a chance to win the tournament and then win your bounty back, which is, you know, literally double what you knocked Spraggy out for. So it's like massive, massive, massive equity for Clem to knock him out. Maybe a little bit less for a player like, say, I Can Dewey or Monkey Boss to knock him out when they're only going to go up to 2.7 million. But when Clem knocks Spraggy out, the value of the bounty that he's winning is substantially more, I would say, than the $14,000 that he gets right away.
In the last couple of hands, you've seen a couple of shoves from Olashemian, which have got through, meaning he's chipped up to 1.4 million, meaning Spraggy is now 8 of 8. Maria, I just want to highlight the fact that there was a time when Olashemian was at the final table of every single live tournament we streamed, and since you've been covering online poker, whether it's been Stadium Series, Scoop, or Wcoop, in these high buy-in events, Wizzo, that unicorn pops up a lot.
He is a unicorn. He really is.
Yeah. He always makes an appearance, and obviously I think he's one of those players that most players don't want to see at their table, and in some ways he's a bit of a lone wolf. You know, sometimes people don't really know, who Ole is talking a lot of poker with these days and stuff like that, but the man gets it done always.
He really does, yeah. He's just honestly, you know what I'd call him? He's a series player, and he has been for quite some time. Obviously, he's got some stuff going on in his life. I don't know how much he grinds just like the regular schedule, but my goodness, does he ever make an appearance in just basically every single series. It's really, really nuts. And live, and in the live circuit. I mean, he's just always there, like you guys were just saying. Always making an appearance on a big final table.
Shield Dog asking, where is Clem from? Let's just do a quick geographical tour of this final table. So we've got 2 players competing from the United Kingdom. Those players being Spraggy and I Can Do It. 3 players from Austria this evening. Wizzo, that's Olashemian. Loose Control and our chip leader, Clemens Reuter. Latvia is represented by N. Voskob 1986. MB Tremendo is from Uruguay. And Monkey Boss, that is David Lacker, who is originally from Spain and is now playing from Ukraine.
Incredibly aggressive peel from, wow, and another peel on the flop here from N. Voskov. Wouldn't really expect to see a call pre-flop with 7-3 offsuit on a final table very often. Obviously, having the bigger stack, having double your opponent's chips, going to come into play a little bit. Also, 10K bounty is decent, but still seems pretty wild. And I was going to say this is kind of why you can't peel 7-3 offsuit free, because it gets a very nice flop for him. Jack 7-4, not a very nice flop, but for 7-3 offsuit, above average, what I'd say. And I would have said, seems like a pretty clean fold to the 2/3 bet from Loose Control, but he does go for the call, and maybe he gets up to no good on the river. I mean, you can't assume that his hand has showdown here, but just gonna hope to win. But yeah, bounty tournaments are definitely a different beast than just a normal freeze-out. Of course, you see people getting up to no good, doing a lot of stuff just as I was coming in. So that 9-8 offsuit raise call from N. Voskov. So he's definitely in it for the bounty, which is, of course, the way you got to play bounties. You need to win them. Yeah. Especially, like I said, on the final table, when you end up being able to win back your bounty if you do close out the tournament, which is just so insanely massive in these tournaments.
Voskov versus the Monkey Boss.
A hand that you do like to isolate normally, just because when you isolate a hand that's so insanely terrible blind versus blind, and your opponent comes over the top with aggression, you don't mind throwing it away. Whereas if we had like something like King 5 suited there, we wouldn't really want to raise fold it as much.
Well, this is an interesting spot. Just a flat from Voskov on the button with the 10s, who we can see is dominated by Loose Control with jacks. Jack's still good, but neither player loving this board.
Yeah, Loose Control picking up a lot of big hands here, though.
And this goes check, check again. Is this going to get checked to showdown?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Loose Control can. Nah, he can't. It's too easy for N. Voskov to be checking back like just a ton of ace-x even here, right? There's not going to be a ton of value to be had from betting twice. I was going to say if he does go for a bet, it would have to be like 1 big blind to maximum 2 big blinds, and he does go for it, so that's pretty cool. But I mean, very nice bet. Wouldn't have found that myself.
Shemian opening here with ace-10. We've got ace-king for Spraggy.
Wow, quick fold from ace-jack as well. We know what Spraggy's doing.
The question is, will Shemian be tempted to call because of this 14K bounty?
The bounty is massive, but I mean, it's for all of his chips. He's opened under the gun. Spraggy shoving from the hijack. It's really, really tough spot to call, I'd say. You know you're always dominant, especially even with like 9s and 8s. There might even be merit for Spraggy not to jam. Oh, but
Makes the
call.
call. Great spot for Spraggy to get the double up. Oh, no, the
my
10 on the river!
gosh.
Oh, no.
no.
The worst kind of domination rotation, which sees Spraggy KO'd in 8th place, taken out by Olashemian. Spraggy cashes out for 15.5k plus nearly 26k in bounties. So a decent score for Spraggy, but what a horrible way to go. Bloomin' Olashemian.
Olashemian, he's just, like I was saying before, he's just too good of a series player, simply put. He doesn't lose his all-ins.
Wow.
But yeah.
And Shemian gets that massive bounty, and Shemian now has the red target.
Very sad. I was sitting downstairs on the couch there about half an hour ago when that happened. So I had unfortunately spoiled myself already, but...
Oh, no. Doesn't make it any easier, right, when you're seeing it, knowing the outcome?
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. It makes it worse.
It's probably
honestly.
traumatizing. I was going to say, to see it
yeah.
twice.
Not ideal. Very sad. I mean, there is one positive that comes out of Spraggy not winning this tournament, and it's that we don't have to listen to how insufferable he would be calling himself the world champion of PKOs. Because he really would be just beyond out of line, I'd say, given that he would win, you know, the first big Wcoop world championship of PKOs. But it'll have to be someone else.
Yeah, so
and if I was a bet... Sorry.
I'm just 40k, I think he made in this, just over 40k.
41k, yeah, just over 41k, I believe. So, not a bad start. Not a bad start to the series.
No.
Of course, he's been crushing it viewers-wise on Twitch the last few days because of these runs, and just because, you know, Spraggy is Spraggy, of course. And yeah, I mean, 40k right off the bat, not a bad way to start. Would have been significantly better to win 200k, but...
So both red spades have now departed. Papo out in 9th, Spraggy out in 8th, leaving us with 7 players. And Monkey Boss is now the shortest stack of them all. Clem 90, still the big chip leader, and has the best hand here.
Interested to see what kind of sizing he goes for. Wouldn't really be surprised at all to see a jam. I mean, there's definitely going to be a couple traps from Lose Control with on the river here, but for the most part, he just has to have the best hand.
Oh.
10's kind of interesting.
You call here and it's over. Obviously, Lose Control doesn't know that.
Has a club but doesn't have a heart. It's going to be obviously blocking Queen 10 suited and 10-7 suited, which are both very reasonable hands for Clem to raise call before the flop, you know, in position with a massive chip lead. But probably just will find a fold, although I was wrong about his last river decision, so.
Well, while we're seeing this long tank from Loose Control, Wagoni watching on YouTube asks, where is Joe Stapleton? Joe is on break right now, getting himself a snack. He will chow down on that sausage and be back soon.
Yeah, not the easiest of spots here, but I mean, I agree with Tonka that I think he will find a fold, but of course, you're always a little suspicious when the chip leader is going to make a play that obviously puts your tournament life at risk, because you know that they can put a lot of pressure in these situations, but does get away.
But alternatively, it is like something to be said about the fact that Clem is such a massive chip leader that he's going to have a lot more of that board than he normally would, right? Like he's going to have 7-6 suited, he's going to have a bunch of 9-8 suited, whereas like if Na and Voskov had opened the button there and Lose Control 3 bets, I would say he's a lot more restricted just because of how many chips he has. He's not going to be able to call as much. So Clem is going to have even more value bets than, you know, we would normally assume.
Yeah. Blinds have just gone up to 35,000, 70,000. One of those ridiculous blind levels that only exists online. Just to close off the story of Benjamin Spraggy Spragg, of course, the series is a long one. This is only day 2, so there's plenty more opportunity for Spraggy to have success. But as far as live poker is concerned, Parker, Spraggy is 2 for 2 in EPT cashes and is going to be free rolling EPT London, having won his seat in the True Geordie game in Barcelona.
Spraggy might be the best 5K player in the world at the moment. It's absurd. I mean, I am very jealous because he plays them occasionally in series. He's played a couple of EPTs, and I genuinely think his cashing rate is around 70%. Like, not an over-exaggeration either. Like, he cashes every 5K that he plays. It's really remarkable. The man's a genius high-stakes player.
I can do it with aces, Voscob with jacks. So I can do it. The last remaining UK player now that Spraggy has departed. And a reminder, this is someone who's relatively new to PokerStars. 76 MTTs they've played, and this is the biggest buy-in they've played. And they only have, I know $25,000 is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, in total PokerStars earnings, that's not huge.
I was going to say it will be interesting to see if Dewey does any flatting here, but I wouldn't imagine he's really able to. Oh, and he does go for it.
Okay. Well, has 92.4% on this 8-4-3 flop with 2 hearts. I take it that in this house, Spraggy gets the good chair and he leaves you with the old one that squeaks.
They're honestly both terrible chairs. I'm trying to get Spraggy to upgrade to it. I mean, the man sits on his chair for however many hours.
Oh wow.
Goodness.
The Jack of Hearts on the turn. Domination rotation in Voscob's favour. However, I can do it with a redraw to the nut flush.
You see 3 hearts dead, though. And there it is.
All in and a call. No heart on the river. That's a KO. That is the elimination of I Can Do It as Voscob claims the bounty. I Can Do It cashing out for $20,000 plus 4K in head prizes. And we are down to the final 6. Voscob now has the red target. Voscob is now worth $15,600.
This could very easily be a double up for loose control. I mean, to me, it looks like a pretty good spot to jam here from Clem. With his stack and the 10K bounty, and just the fact that loose control hasn't really been playing, too tight or perceivably too tight. We can see that he's just getting a lot of good hands, but it feels like he's been playing loose. I'd be pumping it in with this King Jack for sure. So could see an all in. And there it is.
We do. Hopefully no more dirtiness. And Ace King is holding. Ace King is good. It is a double up for loose control. Clem still with a chip lead, but not as big a chip lead as he once had.
Still 100 big blinds though.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty solid. I guess, Maria, just looking around the table, no one is super short, right?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, even MB Tremendo sitting over there with over 25 bigs or so, it's definitely playable for sure. And a lot of these players at this point, aren't necessarily going to be getting too out of line. It could go a long way in terms of, what a 20 big blind stack or so can do in these situations. You're not really needing to get unnecessarily involved. And you have fold equity. You could find some good 3-bet shove spots over opens, and, there's a lot of maneuvering still left for all of the players.
Well, Clem 90 decides to re-raise. Monkey Boss has opened the button with deuces. Actually just flatted on the button with deuces.
Yeah, interesting limp here. Interested to see if he continues or if they continue with the call. If you're the type of player that's going to look to incorporate limps in here, I would assume that you will continue with the deuces now. A jam would be quite wild, of course, but does opt for the fold. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that means that Clemens Reuter is back up over 7 million. Is still the chip leader with 6 players remaining in this World Championship of PKO event.
5-7 suited. This N Boskov, he likes to play.
So the reason why this player is on our radar, Parker, is that they were the runner-up in the Super High Roller in Scoop, the 25k event that ran in Scoop this year. Came second for 284 grand.
Very cool. Can't say I've ever played an online 25k, I don't think. It's a bit of a high-stakes tournament, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, and thank you to StatTrick for reminding me that it was Rodrigo Celuan who won that Super High Roller.
An individual who has really come into their own as of late. I feel like I remember Celuan winning something in Prague and maybe even Barcelona as well, a couple of high rollers. I've been absolutely crushing the scene, I feel like. Wow, and Voskov going for the half pot bet here. Gonna see some fireworks potentially. I mean, maybe not. Maybe they just shut it down on the turn, but it does feel like a pseudo bluff already on the flop when you bet half pot with second pair into 2 opponents.
Well, a pair of 5s, still the best hand.
Will lose control bluff, and if he does bluff, what size will they go for? Maybe a very small bet, trying to represent a 10 or some kind of turned king with the flush draw. Just a little 1/3 or quarter action, something like that. Or just gives up. Also fair.
So we see Voskov move over the 5 million mark. Firmly sat in second place now. And Wizzo Olashemian with the Grafton, 10-9 suited in the small blind. Has the shortest stack in the big. That player being MB Tremendo.
Does opt for the jam.
All you can eat.
Kind of gets to get away with a lot when you cover the smaller stack blind versus blind on PSKO final tables. Because of course you have the added overlay of the bounty and your opponent really doesn't want to bust.
Well, King
MB
7
Tremendo
opens.
could go for a rejam like Maria was saying before and run into it here.
Ooh. Well, I guess that might save him, right? Because now, when Voskov 4-bets, King Jack offsuit suddenly looks awful. I mean, I think it's awful to start with. I bloody hate the hand.
Yeah, this is much more of a... I'm sure while covering a bunch of high-stakes final tables this series, you guys will see now more than ever that this sort of mini 3-betting, we just saw it from N. Voskov a couple hands ago in the big blind with the jacks against the aces, but this sort of mini 3-betting, you know, small out-of-position 3-bets with blockers on final tables, just to go with your aces, your kings, even your queens, is sort of how the meta has shifted in poker. So there's significantly less 20 big blind to, say, 30 big blind jamming on final tables and just a ton more of not all in 3-bets.
GXLM watching on YouTube asks a fair question. What does PKO mean? We throw around these acronyms and this terminology assuming that everyone knows, but there will be people who are either new to poker or new to this particular format. It stands for Progressive Knockout. It's effectively a bounty tournament, but the progressive element is because as you knock people out, your own bounty goes up. So the deeper you go in the tournament, the more the bounties are worth, effectively. And before anyone asks the question, because it comes up every time, need to press this button. Go Clem. The reason why first and second look like they get the same, as far as the prize pool's concerned, yes, they will both get 93k, but whoever wins this not only gets the bounty of whoever finished second, but they also keep their own head prize as well. So the difference between first and second will be very significant.
Yeah, always massive in PKO tournaments. And again, why it becomes even more of a big deal to hunt the bounty down the stretch here. Bounties have never been more important in a poker in like this tournament than they are now. Another limp, man. Very interesting to see. Will Clem isolate this one? Probably not. It's a decent amount deeper this time. Significantly worse hand than the ace-jack suited as of last time.
Well, again, Clem with trips.
Wow, big bet.
Yeah, pretty surprising to see Wcoop go for that sizing, considering there's not going to be a lot of hands that would call that he has beat with the sevens, but just gets shut down immediately by the trips.
And we saw that hand, Maria, where Clem doubled up loose control and lost a decent chunk of his stack. I mean, as we observed, still had more than 100 bigs. But I noticed that Clem has now worked his way back up to nearly 8 million.
Yeah, Clem is just really employing the, attack with your big stack strategy, which is, again, just basically the full-on strategy in progressive knockouts, as could have been seen, I guess, early on by them just attacking with some of the King 3 suited. I believe they put in a 4-bet or a 5-bet or something. I wasn't watching. I just heard Spraggy say it. But yeah, you just really attack because all of these shorter stacks are very handicapped in the sense that they can't really take bounties, and they are all looking to ladder up while each other knocks them out, which is the way it is always in tournaments. But when you are the bigger stack, you have the bounty overlay. And again, the extra bounty overlay in winning back your own bounty. So it's just, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing to be the chip leader on a bounty final table, on a PKO final table. Easily one of the most enjoyable things in poker, for sure.
I thought you were going to say one of the few enjoyable things in poker.
Oh, I mean, poker's a great game. Poker has lots of enjoyment.
Tonka strikes me as somebody who loves poker enough to not think that there's only a few things that he can enjoy about the game.
There's too many. Especially these days now that I'm playing more mixed games. Now poker's like new again, it's very cool. I'm looking forward to hopping in the horse once we hop off comms here.
Well, yeah, I mean, normally we would focus just on No Limit Hold'em on these Cards Up WCoop streams, but with these World Championship formats, we're going to be showing some love to PLO8. We're going to be showing some love to the 8 game.
Beautiful. I'm going to be playing both of those, so hopefully I can sneak into an FT and potentially even a win, but I don't hold my breath. I'm definitely one of the weaker players that plays in those fields, especially some of the higher stakes ones.
Got a straight here for loose control. Top pair for Wcoop, which is no good. And let's see if he pays off another bet. Meanwhile, I have a request from Doodoo Gamer watching on Twitch. Hello, James. End Maria. No. What kind of a person do you think I am?
I'm just going to assume that it's a typo, but, you never know.
If you want to talk about contract work, if you want to talk about wet work, you need to DM me. Don't do it in live chat.
Would have been cool to see lose control go for a smaller river size there. Maybe have Wcoop do something crazy.
Pair of 3s for Monkey Boss. I'm just kind of trying to see the positive in this.
Yeah, again, sort of one of the problems with calling some of these hands in the big blind, similar to what we saw with N Wcoop before. I mean, not the nuttiest flop for 3 deuce, but still a pretty decent one, right? You flop some backdoor flush draw, some backdoor straight draw, a pair, and still they're just going to have to fold to this big bet from Ola.
Yeah.
Unless they know something that we do not.
385 into 367.
Oh,
Gets
my
called.
goodness.
Wow.
And now picks up the flush draw on the turn, has less than pot behind.
What are they going to do if Wizzo jams?
Wizzo does jam. I mean, you can call like a boss.
I guess you could call and just hope that Wizzo has a flush draw of their own. They are going to be jamming, I guess, just exclusively like, overpair, one pair hands, and then draws of their own. And at absolute worst, this is basically the worst scenario, I guess, that you can be in, or the worst hand that you could be up against as Monkey Boss. One of the worst hands.
Wow, that's call.
All working Monkey Boss instead. Barry Greenstein makes an appearance, and we do get another KO. It's Olashemian who takes out another player, and that player is Monkey Boss. That is David Lacker, who cashes out 4. Let me just check the stats. $26,800 in prize money, $7,800 in bounties. We're down to the final 5. Olashemian is now worth 17.5 grand if you can knock him out.
The power of the bounty. Spraggy got 8th place, and Monkey Boss got 6th, and Spraggy still cashed for more. The power of the bounty. Quick.
While MB Tremendo has dropped below 1 million chips. Blinds will be going up in 13 minutes to 40,000, 80,000. This is looking good for Clem. Bet the fold.
Yeah, but Wcoop clearly not shying away from, playing 3-bet pots out of position against the chip leader. I mean, some people might have folded Queen 9 suited and played, the suited Broadway combos, but...
Yeah, and Wcoop just not really afraid of anything, to be honest, from what we've seen. Raising some wild hands from wild positions, peeling 3-bets, raise calling 9-8 offsuit for the bounty, just really getting in the mix and fighting, and yeah, being quite out of line. But again, one of the very reasonable ways to play PKO tournament, just because it is so important to have that big stack. So much more important to fight for the bounties instead of just simply laddering up.
So button open with ace-6, the shove from 9s, Wcoop with the Spraggy, ace-7 offsuit, decides to isolate, optimistic, and that is a pretty decisive flop, and MB Tremendo is going to get more than a double up to nearly 1.9 million.
Yeah, really fighting for those bounties, especially when it's only 7.6k isn't it's the smallest bounty. It's nothing to shy away from, but it is less than the current ladder. And once the bounties become a little bit less than the ladder, it starts to feel like not that you don't want to hunt them as wide, but lose control opening up too to the 6 high.
It's domination rotation with a pair of 5s for loose control on this flop. Hello to M. Melku97 who observes, this is very interesting. I agree.
Could see fireworks
Ace
again
9
here.
Of diamonds, and now the kings for Tremendo, who just flats. And Clem calls out of the small blind, loose control, calls out of the big blind, and we've gone 4-way to the flop.
Yeah, Tremendo hoping. Yeah, Tremendo hoping that perhaps one of the bigger stacks behind him would squeeze, but then now just ends up playing kings against 3 other opponents who have, quite a bit of equity against his hand.
This would be great if it went bet and then raise, if lose control went for a raise here, and MB Tremendo just sat there with his kings crying. Even now, it's a pretty horrendous spot, you know? Like, no matter what lose control and Clem have, you have to assume that they have more or less exactly what they have.
I was going to say, on the flop, it was a pair of fours, a pair of fives, and a pair of kings. Now it's trip five for lose control, who has more than 90% equity in this three-way pot. And I have to observe that the pot is 1.2 million and Tremendo's got 1.5 behind. So 300k the bet from lose control.
How do you continue here with kings? Just seems like one of the two are going to have something. Ace, pretty inconsequential. Obviously, you never like to see an ace when you have kings, but it seems incredibly difficult for lose control to have an ace in their hand. Unless they have exactly ace X of hearts, of course. But yeah, will we see the hero fold on the river or the hero call?
Yeah, well, it's all in to call, and if Tremendo does call here, Tremendo will be out in 5th place.
A pretty clear-cut example of why trapping hands like this on final tables is somewhat ill-advised. Not the craziest call, I would say, the majority of the time, but I think that you want to just go for a 3-bet here mostly in MB Tremendo's shoes, as I feel like Clem and lose control are kind of incentivized to do a lot of calling and, you know, try to flop something similar to exactly what happened instead of going for like a loose squeeze behind. Especially because presumably MB Tremendo again will be playing a super tight range of hands pre-flop, and it's going to probably be tougher to get it through them, but it does make the good fold in the river.
Yeah, lose control moves up over 5 million, and here's a potential confrontation. Queens on the button, ace jack suited in the small.
Probably just see a call from lose control though. One of those spots where like if you 3-bet ace jack suited here, it feels like you're kind of bluffing with it, you know, because you can't continue to a 4-bet. Whereas if you 3-bet here with like ace 5 suited or ace 4 suited, or even like an ace 8 offsuit or something, you're much less worried about having to fold to a 4-bet. So yeah, do expect him to call the most of the time.
Oh. This was unexpected. Oh, Wallace Shemian, you cheeky chappy, you.
I guess Clem's going to 4-bet, probably just make it like 1.2 million. You don't really want to call and give lose control like a nice price with, you know, pocket 7s, pocket 8s, pocket 6s, stuff like that. Probably just fold their ace jack suited no matter what, but would kind of suck to go 3-way with queens on the button here.
And that will see Clem closing in on the 9 million mark. Still the chip leader with 5 players remaining in this World Championship event. Shemian limps the button. Tremendo calls. Voskov checks. And King 10 high, the best hand, plus of course the club draw as well.
Chipping back up, MB Tremendo. Probably coming in for a race? No. Okay.
Zangoban asks, is the $10,300 going to be on stream for Final Table? This is not me being facetious, but you are going to have to be more specific because there are a number of Wcoop events. There are plenty of Wcoop tournaments. Okay, not hundreds, but a decent number with a 10k buy-in. Now, if you're talking about the event that concludes the series, if you're talking about the 10k main event, which is also the World Championship of No Limit Hold'em, yes. If you're talking about the 10k high roller that's going to be played this week, yes. But there might be a couple of other 10ks that won't. Every now and then I can hear a kind of rumble that sounds like a deep moan, which I'm going to assume is Benjamin Spragg in a different room in that house.
You can hear him in the background?
Yeah, just every time he's clearly whining about something.
When he raises his voice, yeah. I mean, this microphone really picks up the world as well. Spraggy's spare mic here. I'm really just on like a budget Spraggy setup here. I've got his broken old chair. I've got his, not great old microphone. I've got a $15 desk from IKEA, a 14-year-old monitor. It's a real budget setup, but we're going to make it work.
It's also a great shame that he makes you stay in the bathroom as well.
I was going to say, there's like a lot of reverb coming out of there.
It's terrible, this room as well. Yeah, it's just, it's a budget setup. It's a budget setup. But unfortunately, the Ontario government said I'm not allowed to play poker with the world from home anymore, so I had to come somewhere. So we did a little last minute to Spragg's house for the Wcoop.
I love that. There are many countries that you could play from, but you decided that the English countryside and sharing a house with Spraggy was your best option.
Listen, it wasn't necessarily, I didn't decide it was my best option. It's just the one that I landed on.
Okay, it was the easiest option. It was the cheap option.
It was an easy one. It is a cheap one. All I have to do is cook for him a few times, and that's give him a couple bucks maybe, but no. No, it's fine. It's nice.
I think the biggest bummer is that you were in the best time zone to play before being on the East Coast of North America. That's the best time zone in my opinion, but now it's a rough schedule.
Yeah, I don't hate the schedule as much as like a lot of people do, just because I lived on it for like 2.5 years before. But I 100% agree. Yeah, it's horrendous comparably, or not even horrendous comparably, but like the East Coast time zone is just the absolute nuts. It's like so good. Finish your poker at 7 p.m., 8 p.m. the max. Have enough time to go out and do something. Oh baby.
Setup alert.
Are we going to see another limp? These crazy limping guys? No.
Well, this is another potential double up for MB Tremendo unless we see some nastiness.
Again, curious to see if we see a call. Not this time. It would be pretty crazy to see a call with how Noskov is played.
And aces hold. That is the double up for MB Tremendo, who's now pretty much tied with Shemian and with Voskov. Yeah, the Bulka asking, show us your real background. This is the real background. I'm in the PokerStars arena. This is where Wcoop 2022 is being played. I'm in one half of the arena in my commentary box, and then across an ocean and a continent, Joe is in the other half of the PokerStars arena.
Very believable. Clem going for it here. Oh, getting there.
So ridiculous. Have a 4, why don't you?
Maybe see a barrel? Even if your 4 is good here, your opponent is almost always going to have 2 overcards, something that you wouldn't mind protecting from, so the bet could work as like a double edge. And when you check, you probably just have to check fold your pair. So, wouldn't be the craziest thing to see Clem bet.
Loose control regains the advantage with a 10 on the river. Yes, good observation, Lobster. It is the case 10 on the river. Both Olashemian and Mario Bonanata folded a 10 pre-flop.
in these spots, it just feels like what do you get called by when you value bet? You know, like are they gonna throw in the call with the 4 or the deuce or like a pocket 5s or something like that? Maybe a 10-9 suited potentially. Also, of course, have to be worried about facing a large river check raise from Clem, which seems like a very plausible thing for them to do with a value hand or a bluff.
Straight draw for Olashemian, the pair of 9s for loose control. My God, he's also given you a clickety-clackety old keyboard as well. You really got the
I got
dirty
the worst
end
of
the stick.
everything. Yeah, there's nothing good about my setup at the moment. There really is just absolutely nothing. In fact, I literally have to go out and buy a new chair. I can't sit in this. My back is like, I'm not joking either. My back is like, I'm very much in pain after 2 days of sitting in this chair. So we will be going out tomorrow or ordering a new chair on Amazon tonight. It's just not possible. I was saying yesterday that I'm going to buy Spraggy a Herman Miller because he still sits on a cheap chair also. And I just don't understand how the man does it.
I mean, I feel like Spraggy can afford to splurge on a Herman Miller right now after his cash.
Too.
Yeah.
Spraggy definitely can.
Well, we can go into a bit more detail about Spraggy's posture in just a moment. We have reached the second break of this final table. And it is Clem 90, the start of day chip leader, Clemens Reuter, who still has the advantage with 8.5 million. MB Tremendo, Mario Bonanata from Uruguay is the shortest stack with 2.2 million, but Voskov, Olashemian, not that far ahead of him. Going to give Maria a short break. Going to get Joe Stapleton back in the mix on the other side of the PokerStars arena. Just before we say goodbye to Parker Torble, let's have a quick chat with Tonka. Joe, we've been over the fact that Tonka's staying with Spraggy for Wcoop. The weirdest thing is you said yourself that you were there for Scoop, so having done it once, I'm amazed you were willing to go through this again.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just quite the masochist at this point, you know. I will say this, though. While Spraggy is, a terrible guy, I'm also not a cup of tea to live with, so like we kind of bounce off each other in the toxicity department, so it kind of works out,
Yeah. You raised the chair issue. Now, Spraggy, like myself, is a tall gentleman and has horrific posture. When we all got trapped at home and had to spend many hours basically sat in front of a computer screen, I was one of those people who thought, I don't need to spend a fortune on a fancy chair. I'm fine with the office chair I have. Cut to extraordinary back pain, and no, you've got to invest. And I'm amazed as a streamer that Spraggy hasn't gone there sooner.
So if I could step in here, it's because, much like you, James, he is a tall drink of water, but unlike you, his cheapness extends beyond his personal discomfort. Like this dude, his wife lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, and he flies economy to go see her. And also, from what I understand, is one of these guys who sits economy, middle seat, and just stares at the back of the chair for all 13 hours. Just does not care. This dude knows how to stretch a pound like anyone I've ever met in my entire life. Tonka, do you agree?
He's a crazy guy. I don't necessarily agree with this, flying economy sentiment. I think that's a very overstated one. Like, there's nothing wrong with flying economy, guys. Get off your high horse. But I will say, it's unbelievable that he sits in not a pristine chair. And I think his bed is okay, but I know he doesn't have a nice bed. Like, these are the two things in life. If you sit at a computer all day, I feel like you should just splurge on. Treat yourself to a nice bed. Treat yourself to a nice chair. I mean, the man literally sits in his chair for 12 plus hours a day.
The thing that makes no sense, the part of the story that does not check out, doesn't Spraggy have an Aston Martin?
So this is the one thing.
It's a 1995 Aston Martin.
No, it's a very nice car. It's the one thing in life that he splurges on. The one thing.
Right.
And he's been talking lately about upgrading and getting rid of his Aston Martin, getting a new, bigger, and better car. So there's one thing in life that he's not cheap with, and that is his vehicles.
When you go through the McDonald's drive-thru as much as Spraggy does, you gotta do it in style. You gotta
That is
make
a
sure
fact.
you're impressing those other people in the drive-thru.
So, just to clarify, Parker, you're going to be at Casa del Spraggy, I guess, for the rest of this month, and playing as much of the WCoop schedule as you can?
Yeah, I'll be streaming later this week, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday for sure, and potentially even Saturday. Might stream on Wednesday if I make some day twos, of course. I do have to go home back to Canada right before the WCoop main event for a friend's wedding, which is very unfortunate, but I will be heading over the border into Quebec to be able to play the main event.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be sneaking that one in. But I will be leaving Spraggy's in a couple of weeks, in just under 3 weeks.
Okay, so you've basically got, like, you know, a chart and you're ticking off the days like a prisoner.
I have a calendar right behind me, yeah, and it's like a big
Yeah.
X on the days, you know, that I've gotten through, and I'm just, high-fiving myself every single day now.
Well,
No, we
number
give a
one,
lot
I'm
of shit
sorry.
to Spraggy.
I'm sorry you had to live the pain of Spraggy's bust out not once but twice. But thank you for
Yes.
spending an hour with us. Thank you for your analysis this evening, and hopefully we'll catch up with you later this series when you win another WCoop trophy.
Hopefully we can be back in here for something exactly like that. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Parker. Good to speak to you. And back to the final table of this World Championship of PKO. Time for me to hand things over to Mr. Stapleton and Ms. Ho.
Oh, man, James is gone already. I didn't get to ask him. Is Spraggy still in? Five-handed here in our first ever, not our first ever, but our first championship event of 2022. 5K, progressive knockout, loose control, Clem, MB Tremendo, Voskob and Wizzo still battling it out. Clem, the chip leader. Everyone guaranteed $35,000 at this point. And some very, very big bounties on the line.
Yeah, Wizzo knocking out Spraggy and becoming the biggest bounty with the 5 that are remaining.
Wizzo first act here, 9-7 suited. Average chip stack at this point is 4.3 million. So 3 players below average. Wizzo maybe not back from break yet. There we go.
You know, Wizzo is a dad, so maybe he had to change a diaper or 2 on break.
Maybe he's burping a baby. And Clem dominated headed to this flop, which is King 10 for 3 diamonds. Queen of diamonds for loose control. A better 10 for loose control. And it's loose who's firing. 172,000.
Yeah, I mean, Clem definitely needs to call once and see what type of turns and rivers come, because there's the obvious, you know, diamonds that would make it even worse and harder for Clem to continue, but that feels relatively safe.
Check, check. Board pair is on the river. It's a 4. And that is a chopifying card. Both players using that king as a kicker now. 10s and 4s.
Yeah, we see a little bit of a deliberation about value betting and what size. I mean, this is interesting, though.
And gets the chop to fold. Maria Ho must be so excited.
Saved me! Okay, loose control's my new favorite player.
MB Tremendo starting things off with pocket sixes. And the flop is queen high, top pair for Wizzo after defending queen jack in the big blind. And it goes check, check. 10 on the turn. Straight draw to go at top pair for Ola Shemian.
Yeah, going for almost 3/4 pot just to give their hand a little bit of protection.
And Wizzo up over 3 million now. That leaves Tremendo the shortest stack. $7,600 bounty on Tremendo. So Maria, top pair for loose, top and bottom pair. Itch Win says, caught a bit of your visit to Dallas, Joe. Looks like you enjoyed it there. So when I was playing in Dallas, my backer texted me and said that they didn't realize I was playing PLO. Now, I worked out a deal with my backer where I said I'm playing in a 2-5-5 game, and I wanted to be. My backer said that they would put up 1,000 for 50%, so like $2,000 bullets, I assumed. And then they were like, "Oh no, I didn't know you were playing PLO." What do you think my backer meant by that?
Are you asking
Like,
me or are you asking the chat?
No, I'm asking you what you think my backer might have meant by that.
I think that your backer meant that had they known that you were going to be playing PLO, they might have changed the amount of action they wanted to take of you.
So less action, you think, or more action?
Ranging anywhere from, no action to 200% more action than they
Okay,
chose.
so it could have been less or more.
Yeah, but I would love to know what chat thinks about Stapes' PLO game.
I think I played pretty well, except for one spot. I did have aces, like double suited aces, and I didn't re-raise.
Ooh.
I think I limped from early position because everyone had been like going crazy in late position. I figured I could get it in against one player later, and it just never happened. It just limped like 8 ways for the first time all night. So that was probably a mistake.
Double suited aces, I would encourage you to put all of the money in as fast as possible in cash and tournaments.
It was like ace 4, ace 7 or something, though. All right, ace king for loose control is going to take it down pre-flop.
Loose control really building up their stack nicely now in second place. They were very short at one point.
Ooh, Clem flops bottom 2 pair, second pair for Wizzo. And Clem firing 280K in position. Eight on the turn. Wizzo checks again.
Clem probably going to size up quite a bit. There's just a lot more draws possible.
$584,000 into $984,000. And Wizzo does not have any of those draws, so probably a much easier decision. Back down under $2 million again. Ace-Jack suited for Clem. So, Maria, we were thinking that it might be fun for the podcast if I chop down all the hands I played, and then maybe you could take a look at them for me, and we could see how I played.
I would love that. That would give me a lot of information in terms of how much action I would want to take of you in the future when you play PLO.
Yeah, right. I don't think I had very many difficult decisions in this game, which is probably for the best. But we'll
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it sounds like you doubled. Did you say you doubled through plat once or twice?
Just once. The thing is, I was down. I think I started with 1,000. When I doubled through plat, I probably only had like 475 or 500 or something. That basically got me back to even. I'm really surprised Jeff called because I hadn't played any hands, and I think we got it in aces versus, I think he had like king, queen, jack or something. All right, Voskov all in against 2 9s. They are flipping, and the ace, queen makes top pair, so that's a double up for Voskov. And now we have 3 players above average at least. Wizzo, the shortest stack with ace-10 here, misses the flop. Is ahead of 9 high, however. Takes it down with a bet on the flop. Pocket 7s for loose.
Yeah, about 53 bigs or so effective for loose. Does go for the raise with the 7s. And I think ace deuce offsuit is definitely good enough to limp call with from the small blind.
You know, having an ace in your hand makes a very good top pair.
The toppest of pairs.
Loose control does have some outs. 2 7s and 4 10s. But no improvement for loose. Instead, it's trips for Clem.
Yeah, and I think as played, it looks like loose has some showdown value to Clem, so certainly want to pick a sizing where you can perhaps get called by that. I mean, with this type of polarizing sizing, clearly just trying to represent a misdraw of some sort, but that is just too rich for loose's blood.
1 million over bet does not get paid off. Wayne Riley on YouTube asks, why does it seem like they are lost? Joe stares into the abyss, then they respond like 5 seconds after each sentence. Well, to that I say, you're banned. Thank you for your comment.
I mean, I'm surprised it took you this long. It's been, what, almost 2 hours since we started, and you've only just banned one person. Are you feeling okay?
The action's been too good. There's been, it's the World Championship event, PKO. I was trying to let the poker speak for itself, but Unfortunately, just a slight lull in the action there for 1 second was all it took for Wayne Riley to get banned. Pair of 10s for Wizzo is going to be good at Showdown. Clem counterfeited on the turn, makes another pair on the river, but it ain't good enough. I guess it wasn't quite counterfeited when the turn happened, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I don't know about everybody else, but I feel like I usually know what you mean.
That's bad for you.
And somehow we're still friends, Stapes.
I know, despite you completely understanding everything I say, somehow we're still friends. So Clem's raising king, queen. Just a call from lose control with ace, queen high. 4-5 gets in for cheap, and it comes 10-4-4. Deuce of clubs on the turn has both Clem and loose drawing officially dead. No one wants to take a stab. Maybe loose in position. Checks around and Voskov rivers the boat.
Yeah, just a little too much hand and board coverage. Not really sure if they could bet and get called by worse, so trying to opt for the line of checking and hoping somebody tries to steal, but does not work. Doesn't get a whole lot of value for that full house.
That's a throwable situation. When I see someone check a full house all the way down and I check back, that's a rocket. That's a toilet paper. That's a make it rain. Fun flop for Clem. Top pair and a big-ish heart. Someone in chat asked if we were married, Maria, and then someone else answered that we're not. Would you care to enlighten them?
Stapes and I are definitely not married. We are very good friends, though.
What we have is better than marriage, really. If you've ever met married
Please
people.
do. Yeah, right? I was going to say.
Queen Jack on the button for Voskov. Let's remind everybody what Voskov's deal is. Maybe everybody else at the table. I'll get there in a second. Oh, boy.
I like how people in the chat, though, think we're lying, because why would I not be, and Stapes, it goes both ways, why would we not be proud to be married with each other? Why would that ever be something that we would want to keep on the down low if it were true?
I mean, I can understand why you might. But I definitely would want people to know that we were married. Top pair for Tremendo, who is MB is his initials. Mario Bonanata, repping Uruguay, has 2 second-place finishes in Wcoop. No wins. So this is a bit of a redemption tale for MB Tremendo. And that's funny because Tremendo is an anagram for redemption. Lose control, opening this pot 4-7 suited. Online results hidden, repping Austria. Does have a Wcoop title. Can't hide that from us, Loose. Let's see. Let's see Clem in the big blind here. Clem with King 10 in the big blind. Clem at 90. Can you hear me? This is Clem Fandango. Can you hear me? Okay, this is Clemens Reuter. Also repping Austria. 2.2 million in PokerStars earnings. Has a first in a stadium series. And a best Wcoop result was in 2020, 4th place in the PLO main. And is in big trouble here. No, not as in big trouble here. It's Tremendo who's in trouble. Semi-bluffing. Only catches the 6.
Yeah, I mean, a 6 doesn't quite feel like it would be good enough to win at Showdown, but they might still just give up after rivering a little bit of Showdown value.
They do indeed. And Clem is going to add more chips to that chip lead. Cookies S-Craft knows the word free roll is not welcome in our chat, so they put some spaces in between it, hoping that I wouldn't catch it.
Sneaky. Sneaky.
Almost worked, you banned. Thank you for your question. Top pair for loose.
If loose were worried about some kicker problems, they're now chopping with that king on board. So goes for a really small value bet and gets a quick call out of the 9s.
And be Tremendo with the pocket jacks. Everybody's favorite, King Jack for loose control. Wizzo at 10-3, one of the few hands you can fold out of the big blind. Ace high flop, 2 clubs. Maria, have you been in LA since Barcelona?
I feel like I have, but I don't know why I feel like I've been doing a lot, so it feels like I went somewhere. But no, I think I've just been in LA. But you, good sir, you were in Mallorca.
I went
How
to
was
Mallorca
that?
with Spraggy and Marley. Did a little couples vacation together.
Did you have the best time?
We rented a sailing vessel and did a little cruise around part of the island, and 2 of the 4 people on the boat puked. Well,
no.
5 if you count the captain. But of the 4 people who were tourists, 2 people puked on the boat. Do you want to guess? Do people want to guess which 2 people puked? You have to get both correct to be correct.
I already know one because I think you told me that one of them had already expressed to you that they didn't like being on boats.
Someone said they didn't like boats, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the person who puked. Wizzo's pair of 8's going to be good at Showdown if he gets there. And he does get there. Wizzo up over 3 million now, climbing out of the basement. Tremendo, the only player right now with a sub 2 million stack. Still above 20 big blinds. Six, 7, 8, 9, and 2 spades. Ooh. This is getting interesting on the turn.
Yeah, certainly more of a reason for Clem to go for another barrel here.
591,000, so this is a pretty chunky bet.
Yeah, it certainly puts a lot of pressure on this pair and straight draw holding, especially because, you know, if a heart or a spade that comes in that fills in the straight, they're not 100% sure that they have the best hand. But luckily, it's just going to be the offsuit 10.
Nice river for Voskov. And jams, Clem
Feels
gonna
a little
fold
greedy.
ace high. Yeah. I mean, do you think there was any amount that could get called? I know I'm playing results here.
Well, yeah, I mean, knowing what Clem had, of course not. But, I mean, in that spot, there's not really a lot of hands unless ones that have you beat, because remember, that wasn't even the nut straight. Queen Jack is on the river. So, you know, a hand like Queen Jack, obviously, that has you beat is certainly going to call an all in. But, you know, definitely even two pairs and sets will have a lot to think about.
And another fun board. Top pair for Voskov. 2 hearts, a.k.a. 4 hearts for Clem. And the flush semi-bluff. Just 6 high.
Yeah, Voskov just wanting to put some more chips in while they're still ahead, especially with that draw-heavy board.
The ace from space. The black ace on the turn. $2.6 million in the middle. Not much more than that behind for Voskov.
Yeah, just not really sure if they can put 3 barrels here and get called by worse. So it's just a really tough situation where you obviously want to get value from your hand. You have a lot to protect from, but would you really get 3 barrels worth of value from a worse hand? On this texture, probably not.
You do giving up the betting lead is something, though, right? Something you don't necessarily want to do.
Yeah, you might feel like it puts you in a potential no man's land, especially on a lot of rivers. You're gonna have no clue what to do, right? If the flush and the straight comes in, you feel like it's just gonna be a check fold, and if you give up the betting lead now, if you get faced with a committing type of bet from Clem on the turn, you know, what are you prepared to do, and how far are you willing to go with this particular hand? Definitely taking a considerable amount of time, though.
Is there ever anything going on here besides just actual thinking? Are we trying to give any sort of tell, make this decision look more difficult than it is, or is this just genuinely not sure what to do in this spot?
Yeah, I think it's genuinely not sure what to do. And again, you know, you're 5-handed. It's pretty important. This is going to clearly be a big pot either way. So if you are going to take your time bank on any decision, this feels almost as good as any.
This bet from Clem only slightly bigger than the flop bet. Smaller relative to the size of the pot, but one that will have Voskov playing for their entire stack should they put even one more chip in. There we have it. Running aces. The flush gets there on the river. Voscob with only a 3/4 pot left behind.
Yeah, and now you see why this is clearly such an important pot for the covered stack of Voscob, because you committed so much and now your opponent puts you all in on the river, and it's one of the worst cards you could see on the river, and the most obvious draw from the flop comes in.
So when you have, I guess, 6 deuce of hearts here, you're never worried about a bigger flush, I guess, especially when it's the ace of hearts that makes your flush.
Well, I mean, yeah, and you have to just go all in as played when you make your flush there, because you're going to get called by worse hands, but you obviously don't want a snap call, right?
Right. So Clem takes down a huge one there. Was in first place before the hand, remains in first place, but has nearly as many chips as the rest of the table combined. Lose control with a pair of 8s. Now with this sort of chip lead, are we likely to see Clem ramp up a little bit?
Well, I think even before Clem had such a big chip lead, when they were just the chip leader, but perhaps by not so wide of a margin, they were already amping up the aggression. They are already getting involved in a lot of hands. They were opening their buttons pretty wide. So I just expect more of the same.
Top pair for Wizzo. It does go back call 2 pair now for Wizzo. Time for Clem to give it up.
Yeah, Clem may not want to give up so easily just because they feel like they were the pre-flop aggressor and they don't expect Wizzo to have any big aces here, because those perhaps would have shoved pre-flop against a button open. So now you see them going for the second barrel. Obviously, Wizzo does have some 2-pair combos here, but Clem felt like it was a little bit more of their board to try to rep.
Absolutely huge pot going Oleshemian's way, now up over 4 million. Nearly at average. Everyone else below now other than Clem. Second in chips for Wizzo. And loose control is going to open with pocket 5. The Presto.
Yeah, flush draw for Voscob.
Queen of diamonds on the turn, improves no one. Woogie asks, is there a clip of Spraggy going out? Yes, there is. Thank you for your question. Flush for Voscob this time. Ace of spades on the river. Not exactly a card that's going to get you paid off by 5s too often, but who knows? Snap fold from the 5s. Voscob back to over 3.5 million. did miss the blinds going up recently. 100,000 is your big blind now.
How could you miss that? This is your favorite blind level.
It is my favorite.
Do you like this one better than the 10,000 blind level? We never really commentate over the 10,000 blind levels, so that's probably why it has.
The 500,000 a million is my favorite.
It is, okay.
Yeah, it's a long way from this one. Top pair for Wizzo. One spade. Jack high for Clem. Ratbat43 on Twitch says, running a poll, Joe versus Norman Chad. I picked Norman Chad. I'm running a poll. Ratbat43 or banned? I vote banned. Thank you for your poll. Trips on the turn for Wizzo.
Yeah, it just keeps out flopping Clem in these spots where Clem opens the button, and Clem, not giving up on that flop texture, whereas, sometimes you would just resign yourself to feeling like the big blind has a lot of that in their range. And again, not giving up on the turn too. Wow. I mean, I think this is proof, Stapes, of how Clem is going to play the chip lead, right? Just absolutely putting max pressure on their opponents, even in spots where you feel like the board texture favors your opponent.
Oh my goodness, Clem jams the river, overbet jams, all in for Wizzo to call. How do you ever fold an 8 here? I mean, as soon as that nappy's done being changed, Wizzo's doubling up.
Yeah, but I think Wizzo is taking his time just because you almost can't believe that your opponents could have really any bluffs here, right? You almost feel like with the straight possible, with, full houses possible, trips obviously, that it almost feels insane for your opponent to be bluffing in this spot, which is why he hasn't snapped yet. Except
your opponent has all of the chips.
Yeah, obviously.
There's the call.
He does end up making the call.
And Ola Shemian goes from being bottom of the pile at this table, I don't know, 4-5 minutes ago, to being top of the heap. Clem down to 4 million. Ola Shemian with nearly 9.
And now you can see how sometimes you're in the penthouse, but you might overpace yourself a little too much. And now you've given all the chips to one of the best players.
From the penthouse to the doghouse.
Yeah, not quite the outhouse yet, but
lose control of 2 overs and a diamond draw. I mean, I think you heard me moments ago, Maria, saying that Clem, even though he had all the chips, probably shouldn't ramp up. I don't know if you remember that. And both players missed their draws.
You don't really, last comment on that insane bluff is you don't really see a lot of people go for no equity bluffs these days. A lot of people are always going to be semi-bluffing turns with a decent amount of equity, but Clem sure made their best attempt.
And lose control is going to get the free showdown. Going to like what they see.
They might be considering not taking a free showdown, thinking that, they might have to try to bluff their opponent off of a 4x or an 8x. Yeah.
Wow. Does indeed go for the bluff. Doesn't need to bluff.
but just in case. Always better to turn your hand into a bluff in a spot where when you check back, you're like, oh, they would have folded if I didn't, if I just bet.
Yeah. And Jack's just shoving on fours. Fours re-shoving. Not going to like what they see. Voskov needs to hit the river and does not. Double up MB Tremendo, and they switch places. Voskov now on the bottom. Tremendo second from the bottom. Drag Bike Demon asks, what is the dollar amount below their pick? That is what their bounty is worth. Knock out, lose control, you win $10,156.25. Immediately goes directly into your account. Some of that money then gets added to your bounty. Well, it's not some of that money. It's different money because that money goes directly into your account.
Clem limped pre-flop and loose control raised. Clem called and now loose control. Feeling a little froggy.
Some fun hands here. 7-5 suited. Tremendo does not want to get involved. Jack 8 suited for Clem on the button. That's a raise. 209,000 standard. And it gets defended by Jack 7 of spades. Both players in and around this board. Pair of 8s for Clem. 1 spade for Wizzo. AI Collector says 2 of my favorite commentators. Uh-oh. Never mind. Big hand coming. Ace King suited for Clem. Voskov does not have Clem covered. There's the shove. No way you're getting away from Ace King suited. Clem looking for hearts. Only 1 heart on the flop. 1 straight card. Hearts on the turn. River is a brick. Double up Voskov, and now Clem, who was, as we said, Maria, in the penthouse recently, now officially in the outhouse.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a spiral for Clem. I mean, in a lot of situations, you don't really fault the person for trying to go for a bluff against Wizzo in that spot, but
yeah,
I don't know if one would say it was necessary. And then, of course, very standard ace-king against aces.
Oh, boy. And another pre-flop 4-bet, this time from Wizzo Wizzo with king 3, exerting max pressure on Tremendo.
And this is why we don't get Wizzo chips.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's apropos, by the way. It was from the penthouse to the outhouse, specifically because Clem couldn't make a flush. Just a hole in the ground. Lose control, opening ace-jack. Wizzo re-raising ace-jack. I think ace-jack's going to win this one, and I was right. More chips for Shemian. I think maybe you guys might want to pay your tabs at this point. Ola Shemian with this many chips, it could be over relatively quickly.
Pay your tabs.
Excuse me, check please over here. I think we might be wrapping things up.
Stick a fork in them, they're done.
I don't know about done, but you know, We might want to just be ready because the parking lot's going to be a mess. Pair of fives for loose. Top pair for Wizzo. Eight doesn't change anything really. Wizzo firing 350K.
Yeah, and tough spot to get sticky with the fives just because there's no good rivers for your hand unless it's a 5 or a 3. You know, you already have fourth pair. It's very unlikely to improve. So I like the give up.
Got a walk for Voskov there. Rondo 7-8 suited. Is Voskov just going to shove on this limp? Yep. Yep. You ever watch Storage Wars? Yep. Yep.
I cannot say that I have watched Storage Wars, but I heard that Storage Wars, that the host or whatever, right? He likes poker. Didn't he play on a live stream recently?
Renee from Storage Wars is a big poker fan. And be Tremendo, ace-9. $7,600 bounty. Clem does have Tremendo covered, but does not want to go for it with Jack-10 suited. Tremendo with ace-4 of spades now. Just 16.23688 big blinds.
Yeah, and
It's
we
too
could
hot
see
here.
that if Tremendo and if Tremendo folds, you know, Clem has a pretty easy shove. Now against Voskov's open, you know, certainly, yeah, still gonna go with it, but probably knowing that because of their bounty, they're gonna get calls. You know, you definitely have less fold equity than you normally would have if there's not a $12,000 bounty over your head.
We flip him, but it's a set for Clem, and it's a full house on the turn. That's not going to do it for Voskov. Clem doubles up. It's been 2022 has been the year of the short stack double up. We have just seen so many short stacks survive. I feel like all the time. Which I guess.
I mean, Barcelona was certainly a huge indication of that happening over and over again.
Completely insane. King 8 for Wizzo. Wizzo just shoves. Pocket 7's easy call for Tremendo and an easy get out of the way for Voskov. Another flip. This time it's top pair for Wizzo. Wizzo. Tremendo does not catch the river. And we finally lose a player in 5th place. MB Tremendo. Busto. For $42,695. No, that's not correct. $46,434. It's a bounty on Wizzo Wizzo, who's now made 40,000 just in bounties. That was the first number. And we're down to 4.
Wizzo just being absolutely relentless with the chip lead. Definitely puts the ace-10 in a tough spot and does fold.
And both players miss this flop of ace, tray, deuce. Wizzo out of position, but gonna make it work for him. Granted, does have the best hand. But he's just gonna win these pots either by pure muscle or by having the best of it. Raise and take it for Wizzo, who now has 13 million in chips, which is significantly more than the rest of the table combined.
Yeah, so far, mainly muscle, not so much having it.
Yeah, the trip eights was a having it. The sucking out on Spraggy was a having it. Right now, muscle. 3 ways to this flop, which is ace high. No one has an ace, which means Ola Shemian's about to take it down. One down, a 2 down. Yep.
And for those of you guys that's wondering, I mean, only Ola makes it look this easy. It's not usually this easy.
There are certain people who make it look this easy, Ola being one of them. Oh boy, Clem getting shoved on.
Yeah, you would imagine, you know, you hate to put your tournament life on the line, but your hand's just too good to fold.
Too good to fold. No way you can win a bounty. Ace Jack versus King Queen. Ace holding. Ace holding. Queen on the river. Adios, Clem.
Yikes.
Clem Fandango, we cannot hear you. Out in 4th place. $46,434. And another all in the very next hand. This time, Ace King does hold, and that's a double up for Voskob, who is now neck and neck with loose control. Wizzo with twice as many chips as each of these other players. Man, if that had gone back-to-back eliminations, lose control would have been EFFEDD.
At first I thought it was an acronym, and then you went like 3 more letters. I was like, oh, never mind.
It is an acronym. Extra.
No, that's it.
Top pair for loose, and the ace of hearts. Gut shot for Voskob.
Yeah, and with that sizing, just doesn't want to continue for over half pot with the gut shot.
Pat Mustard says, amazing luck box, perfect setup for him now with this structure. It's gonna all over, baby. Not sure I agree with all that, but I like the enthusiasm. The thing is about calling someone a luck box is that, let's say that I ran exactly the same as Olia Shemin does. I'm not going to win as much money as him. You still got to know how to play. Lose control. Jack Trey from the button gets called by Queen Jack suited, and it's top pair for Voskob. Bottom pair for loose, who's going to attempt to continue. Snap call trips now for Voskob. Eight of clubs on the river. Trip queens still good.
I think Voskov is always, for value has gone for these bigger sizings, and I think that, considering there are no draws from the flop, no flush draws, no straight draws to speak of, I think you maybe want to think about that before you go for over pot there, but either way.
King on the turn is top pair for loose control. 8 on the river does not improve anyone. Voskov is going to bet the pair of 10s.
Yeah, about third pot for value, but, loose control has a pretty easy call.
And loose control is going to pick up the last pot of this session, firmly planting loose control into second place. So we've got 9.5 million plays, 6.7 million plays, 5.2 million. We are deep into threads up poker at this point, so why not have a threads up commentator booth? James Hardigan, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Joseph, and what a turnaround during that last session. Down to 3 players. Clem 90, the start of day chip leader, is gone, and now it is Ola Shemian in control. Guys, there's a lot of things I want to talk about and could talk about. Maria, I really need to talk more with you about my inexplicable crush on Alex Hall in selling the OC, but I think that can wait for another day, because we do need to talk about what's coming up on our Wcoop 2022 streams in the coming weeks. On the most recent episode of the Poker in the Ears podcast, Joe, we did provide a broad overview of what we were planning, very much a focus on the World Championship events with some side action, and that is the case, but I thought I'd go into a bit more detail. And by the way, on the subject of the podcast, tomorrow night, during one of the breaks, I will reveal on camera the new merch that we are now giving away as prizes. These are exclusive items of merch you can't buy from the PokerStars store. They are exclusive to people who take part in competitions, including Superfan versus Stapes. I don't want to get everyone too excited, but there's only 4 items, but I think they're pretty cool. I think people are going to like them, and I think it's going to encourage people to get more involved, especially with the Discord we have. But, Wcoop. So tomorrow we've got another 5K PKO. Wednesday, we've got the 10K High Roller. Now, next week, we've got 3 championship events every night next week, because in case you hadn't worked it out, guys, we are streaming Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays for the 4 weeks of the series. We've got 3 championship events. So Monday, Maria, you're going to be with us, and it is another No Limit Hold'em event, but it is 6 max, which I guess brings its own kind of art to the table.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the pros will tell you that 6 max is one of their favorite formats to play, and also just one that they would love to win because they feel like there's a significant type of edge and type of skill set you need to play and excel in that format. So I'm sure we're going to see some real killers at that final.
And then just jumping ahead to the Wednesday, that's when we're going to be covering the Heads Up event. Griffin's going to join us for that. I think it's going to come back with the final 4 players, so we'll be dancing between 2 semi-finals and then streaming the final of that. And then on the Tuesday, we are going to be streaming PLO 8. And fast forwarding to the following Tuesday, we're going to be streaming the 8 game. Now, Joe, I felt that we needed to bring in someone who knew a bit more about non-Hold'em poker than we do. Who better than the leader of the mixed games movement, winner of the horse event at EPT Barcelona, our very own Mason Pie-Face Poker Pie.
That's fantastic. He knows more about at least 3 of those games than I do. So it's going to be a welcome addition to the team.
Now, there's a few of the championship events, I think Badoogie and Horse, which will not be streamed live, but I think Mason's going to handle the replays of those events. I should highlight that in the coming weeks, we've got the 25K Super High Roller final table. And, of course, we're going to conclude the series with 3 consecutive days of main event coverage. Always love following this through from day 2, through the money, down to the final table, down to the winner. Now, Maria, there is a chance you might not be able to join us for the main event because I believe you're going to cross the border and play that tournament.
Yeah, it's an 80% chance right now. I haven't really booked my travel or accommodations, but especially watching these final tables, it's really giving me that itch to go and play, but I'll keep you guys posted, and hopefully I'll make day 2. A lot of ifs, though.
Well, it's a win-win, right? Either you make a deep run in the Wcoop main event, we get to celebrate your championship run, or you're part of the coverage. So, as far as I'm concerned, we can't lose. But all of that to come, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, replays starting next week, and they will precede the live streams, exclusive to Twitch in the afternoon, of some of the other events taking place on the schedule. And of course, there will be a couple of podcasts posted during the series as well. Howard Swain will be with us every day, providing an update and overview of the series. Exciting times. 20 years of Wcoop. It's quite extraordinary that it's been going for that long. Maria, you've been going for 2.5 hours, so why don't you take a break? Joe and I have got this. We're going to go back to our three-handed final table. The first championship event, the 5K PKO No Limit Hold'em. And right now, Joe, I know we've seen a lot of swings. I know at one point it looked like this was Clem's event, but I do kind of feel that this has Shemian's name written all over it.
Yeah, just with the, the few huge hands we've seen Ole play, and then how masterfully he wields the stack, it really is difficult to not completely bias yourself toward an Ole Shemian win in these sorts of situations. I don't even mean from your heart. I mean from your head. You're just like, I mean, the guy's got it. He just always has it.
Yeah. Thank you to Ed clarifying on YouTube. Yes, the live streams, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, are on both the PokerStars Twitch and YouTube channels. It's the final table replays which were going to be exclusive to Twitch. But all the main action, all the live cards up streaming of the biggest events, you can pick your poison, as it were.
I kind of liked how Maria said watching this championship event kind of makes her have a little bit of FOMO, like want to go play, like leave the country to go play a championship event. And it has the complete opposite effect for me. I see Ole Shemian just like running hot, playing well, and I'm like, thank God I don't have access to this. Like, thank God I can't get my face punched in by these people.
Spoiler alert, you're not a professional poker player.
Yes, I understand that. But you
so
would imagine
understandably,
Ole's running too hot. I'm not going to Canada to play this. No way, no how.
Well, Shemian right now is worth $21,000, but of course has the other two players covered. So that bounty not in play right now. The fact that Shemian is worth 21 tells you that he's already banked 40,000 plus in head prizes. It's guaranteed 61K from the prize pool, but I imagine we'll be eyeing up the first/second prize of 93K.
Depending on how this hand goes.
Yeah, both players with top pair. Right now the 10 kicker is playing, and it is in Loose Control's favor. Oh, never mind. This is what we like to call domination. Rotation.
Cancel the plane ticket. Do not book a hotel. Ole Shemian is just going to do Ole Shemian things. No one else needs to play Wcoop.
Yeah.
Lose control. Drawing incredibly thin.
I guess that is the question, Joe. How much is Lose Control going to lose in this pot?
I mean, the pot's not super big. But Ole overbets it.
I think this overbet might get called. I mean, look, it's a straighty flushy board, but still more than a minute of time bank available to Lose Control, who makes the call, and Ole Shemian now has 12 million chips, more than half the chips in play. And it is by no means a done deal, guys, but a player of Shemian's caliber running this hot, and with that chip lead, this is going to be tough for the other two players. And of course, the ladder is a factor now. You can really play these two off against each other. Not that much separating them. And a difference of more than $30,000 in prize money between third and second.
Yeah, it's just absolutely huge.
Ah, Snowman's.
Nom nom. Nom nom.
You know the one time that you're going to make a stand against Shemi and he's going to have it. Well, 10-6 does not improve.
It pre-flop.
Yeah.
Post-flop a little less it, but still not much 6-10 can do.
Closing in on the 13 million mark as the blinds go up to 60,000, 120,000. So just to be clear, Ola Shemian has more than 100 big blinds right now. That's just silly. Well, he's paired his 7 here, but Voskov with a pair of 8s. Voskov betting the turn, gets a call.
Wow, someone got a value bet out of Ola Shemian.
Still good, gets checked to showdown. And Voskov wins a reasonable pot.
Bieber, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but yes, the bounties you're seeing is the amount over the course of the entire tournament.
Yeah. Oh! Loose control flops a flush. Pair of 7s for Voskov. So AI Collector asked the question, does PokerStars have a button to see big blinds instead of chip amount? Yes, if you're playing on PokerStars. Bear in mind that what you're watching right now is a reconstruction. It's a hand replayer, which is animating hand histories of hands played 30 minutes ago. So it's not the PokerStars software that you're watching right now. I always like to highlight, Joe, especially to people who are new to our Cards Up online coverage, that there is not a version of the PokerStars software where you can see all the hole cards. We're not filming this and then showing it 30 minutes later. When a hand is in progress, no one has access to all the card information. Once the hand is over, once the pot is pushed, a hand history is generated, but for integrity reasons, that hand history is basically held server-side for 30 minutes and then exported to replay as if you were watching live action with all the cards revealed.
You know what you can do is use the computer or the laptop or the phone you're on and add up the big blinds your own damn self.
Yeah, it was kind of easier when we were at the 100k blind level, right? As soon as we went to 120k, everyone's like, oh, I have no idea anymore. I mean, it's just like, it's too difficult. You know, if it's too hard for the human calculator, it's going to be too hard for everyone else.
Well, it's not too hard, James. Let's not go crazy. I just sort of used most of my brain power on the last level. Not a machine. Keyword human.
Well,
and again,
Voskov,
yeah, able to value bet Wizzo. I don't know if this one will get paid.
Voskov does have the best hand.
Wizzo
So
finally
Jack,
finding a hand to fold.
9 versus Jack 8. And of course, it would be a Jack high flop.
Oh boy. Ayah.
Okay, and now the King of Hearts on the turn. Voscob near enough a 9-1 favourite with the better kicker and the flush draw as well.
Yeah, pretty gross run out for everybody. I understand why you check it down.
So obviously I referenced just now, Joe, selling the OC. Are you watching it? Have you seen it?
Have I seen what? Sorry?
Selling the OC. It's the
You know,
spin-off from Selling Sunset.
My girlfriend put it on while I was napping the other day, and I'm glad I slept through it. It's perfectly like decent TV, but it's kind of like porn to me. It's too much. It's like sensory overload between the houses and the women, and I feel dirty watching it, is all I'm going to say.
Well, Rivering Trips, Wizzo betting 300,000.
And it's about to get weirder because there's going to be another spin-off. And Jeff Platt's sister is one of the new agents on the next spin-off.
And what's the next spin-off then?
Selling Beverly Hills? Selling...
Wow. So is this another Oppenheim Group office? Because they tried to spin off Selling Tampa, which was a different agency, which had no connection. And that didn't work. The fact that this is still the Oppenheim Group and you've still got the twins means it's part of the same universe.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's another
right
semi-connected show, yeah.
Okay. I was WhatsApping Maria about it over the weekend because if there was one person I knew who'd be watching it and who would have seen it, it was Maria.
We were looking for something to just watch some garbage TV to watch yesterday, and we decided to watch F-Boy Island instead of Selling Sunset, which is a very simple dating show, but very funny. Oh, my goodness.
All the deuces. Well, most of them. Uh-oh. The jack on the turn. And loose control could be about to loose a lot of chips.
That's not a lot yet.
Yeah, but I don't see how this pot doesn't get
control.
Bigger. I mean,
not so much.
You got top pair, top kicker. You can't fold to this raise. Now that card might save him because Voscob could easily have been check raising the turn with spades.
Yeah, Luke's going to get a free showdown. Does not bite.
Yeah.
Well, the good news for Luce now is that you don't have to protect your ICM as much with these few chips.
That's exactly what I was going to highlight. We're in a situation where we have a short stack again, and that short stack is Loose Control, a player who already has a Wcoop title to their name, won an event back in 2017. We've got Ola Shemian, of course, Wizzo, who won a Wcoop in 2018. Voscob, I don't believe, has a Wcoop. Has a second in a scoop event, second in that 25k Super High Roller earlier this year.
$13.2 million for Ola Shemian.
Yeah, Dana's with me. Hated Selling Tampa. Just wasn't the same. I gave up after like 2 episodes. Wasn't into it. I mean, they're playing fast.
Oh, yeah.
And Shemian has just moved over 13 million now. Pocket threes in the big blind.
Interesting.
So when it comes to dating shows, Joe, I'm going to assume that they don't have naked attraction in the United States of America.
They do not have naked attraction in the United States of America. And I'm sure that would have been a great show for the sort of thing we were doing, which was kind of just lazily talking over TV for a few hours. But I feel I've heard the show described multiple times, and I'm good. I don't
Have you never seen it?
No.
It's as horrific as any description could be. But I just knew that with America's slightly puritanical views on nudity on television, that there was no chance that show could ever get made.
I mean, now with streaming, obviously, things are a little bit, freer. But, yeah, there's no way it would go on network TV here, that's for sure. Or they would put it on network TV and blur it, and we would just have to hear people talk about stuff we can't see. I've watched a lot of stuff. Considering I didn't watch much while we were gone, I watched some stuff on the plane. Some things I found really interesting. I've watched a few things since I've been back, so I'm excited to talk about stuff. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know.
I'm sure there'll be.
We didn't have any slow spots today, really. Even right now, it's still pretty fast.
Absolutely, and. Loose control here with an ace in the small blind. Voskov traps by just limping on the button. Loose control gets it in. Voskov will call. And there's an ace on the flop. And that will be a double up. And now they are evens, Stevens again, those two.
It is the year of the short stack double up, that's for sure.
I think certainly the second half of the year.
Is it the second half of the year already? Holy Lord, it is.
Yeah, June is the halfway point.
June was only like a couple of days ago.
I don't know. EPT Barcelona was in August, and to me that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. But it also feels like a couple days ago at the same time. Ola Shemian continuing to do Ola Shemian things.
Indeed. Did I see that Jess Alice has been asked to audition for Naked Attraction 3 separate times?
Oh.
I mean,
I wonder what causes them to come to you for that show.
I hate to be terribly English about it, but if I've out of curiosity, I've watched it a couple of times. If I was watching that show and someone I knew was on it, I would just feel so awkward. So awkward.
Would you keep watching or would you turn it off?
Oh, God, you'd be torn, right? Because, it's like a car crash. You don't want to look, but you can't take your eyes off. No, I'd have to switch it off.
As most people are aware, I'm friends with a couple of people who work in the adult film industry, and occasionally their videos will pop up when I'm looking for my own, and I won't watch them. It feels too weird to me.
When you're looking for your own?
Not my own, ones that I'm starring in, the content that I want to watch. Theirs pops up.
search
On the
Joe
homepage.
Stapleton.
Yeah, right.
Now we know how Joe was scratching a living back in 2005. You and
Believe me,
David
if there was
Williams.
Stuff, people would have found it. People would have found it.
Ace high, still the best hand here.
Just trying to figure out how Wizzo's going to win this hand, I guess, with a bet here on the turn.
Or a bet on the river.
No,
So
just
4
somehow
million.
loses a pot.
Yeah, 4 million apiece for Loose Control and Voskov. Shemian close to 14 million. Huge chip leader. And wielding that advantage, putting these guys in ICM jail, absolutely exploiting the 30k plus prize money difference between third and second. King, Queen, flatting in the small. Queen, Jack in the big. Are we going to get a family pot here? 3 players to the flop.
I
Yes!
think so. And it's perfect to be swiped by Wizzo. It's going to get a little resistance from Voskov. I don't think Queen Jack can overcall. Just want to get out of the way and let Wizzo bust Voskov. Seven, 8, 9, Queen, 5, Queen, King. No, King, Queen's going to win. Voskov value bluffs the river.
And Queen.
Did you
9,
see Nope yet?
raising the button. Yes, I saw it on Saturday. And thought
Did
it
you-
was fine.
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I loved it.
I felt. Let's talk about it during the break because I have a lot to say.
Okay. Perfect.
I think it's Jordan Peele's weakest film thus far. And it was at least 20 minutes too long.
I'm waiting for the break.
Well, King Jack is the best hand right now.
But it's 8 deuce that's going to win.
Because that's the thing with poker. You don't have to have the best hand to win the pot.
We went over this in Barcelona multiple times. Apparently there's 2 ways to win every pot.
It's true.
At Showdown, and then another way that I'm unclear on. The Richardsons on YouTube asking not to spoil Nope. I'll do my best not to spoil anything in the Nope discussion during the break. First of all, we're
I easily talk about it without spoiling it.
I'll do my best, but it's going to be a 5-minute period, a half hour from now. So if we make it that far.
That's a good point, actually. Otherwise, you have to wait till tomorrow. Oh, keep you hanging on. Yeah, I think it's, again, I still have a strong feeling that this is going to be Shemian's tournament, but I'm not saying he can necessarily close it out quickly. I think he's going to have to grind these guys down. And, of course, leverage them against each other. Utilize ICM.
I mean, he is Doing a bang-up job of it right now. I did try to watch the new Game of Thrones, the new old Game of Thrones, and I thought to myself, all right, it's a prequel, and prequels are boring, but this happened so far in the past, maybe I'll find it compelling, right? Maybe I'll find it interesting. And then the first episode does all those Game of Thrones things where it's like so violent and over the top, mean and nasty, and I was just like, I don't know that I miss this. Like, I don't know that I miss, like, having to put my hand up and look away from the screen at, like, just intense gore and violence. And so it was interesting enough, but I'm like, I don't know if I want to put myself through this every week again, like, because I don't care, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel I will give it a go. The other show, which obviously just started, is this new Lord of the Rings show on Amazon, and I'm kind of like, again, do I want to?
Yeah, I might try the Lord of the Rings. But James, you did watch the rehearsal though, right?
What a weird show. Well, actually, this was my This is my narrative arc with the rehearsal across the 6th episode. This is really weird. This is actually really good and enjoyable. This is really disturbing. This is heartbreaking. That's the journey I went on with the rehearsal.
And I think all of those things are intentional. I give them the benefit of the doubt. Lose control, firing into the winning hand.
Oh. And if anyone is capable of making this river hero call with just an 8, it's Olashemian. Lose control, better be careful about bluffing this.
Yeah, still has to find the bluff. Doesn't.
No. And Shemian now playing 15.5 million. And look how the other two are being ground down. They were 4 million apiece a short while ago. Now 3.5 million, 2.5 million. The chips are going in the direction of Olashemian. Closing in on the 16 million mark now. Voskup with 9s, though.
I feel like this one could go Voskup's way.
I'm assuming anyone who's seen it will be able to verify. Does the Lord of the Rings TV show have the Lord of the Rings theme music? And if it does, are they using the version with the lyrics that I wrote? Every TV show should have.
Hardigan is famous for writing lyrics to TV shows that you wouldn't think had him. By the way, I was wrong about Voskup winning that pot.
Yeah.
I was dead wrong. Wizzo over 16 million now.
Okay, lose control all in, unlikely to get called by either player. Queen 3 versus 9-7.
I read one really funny review of the Rings of Power about how the person who reviewed it just can't watch any TV show where people have pointy ears.
Ace Queen here.
Probably a call.
In the small blind, and Shemian likely. Well, I thought it would be a shove, but no, just opens to 360. Shemian may get frisky with Ace-6. No. Oh, the rotation. A pair of 6s now for Shemian. I guess if Loose Control is going to play it this way, though, Joe, Loose Control doesn't go broke.
I mean, broke, no.
Shemian Raising with the best hand, a pair of sixes. Lose control. Moves all in. Shemian snap calls. And we are heads up. Aces and sixes for Ola Shemian, who eliminates Loose Control. Loose Control cashes out in third place for 61k plus 30k in bounties. And now both players have locked up 93 grand. What are they still playing for? You know the formula. We take the bounties that are advertised, we add them together, we multiply by 2. So 29.5, 15.5. So that is 45,000 multiplied by 2, 90k. This is a $90,000 heads-up battle.
Did you see what Voskov just said?
No, I missed it.
Please. Oh, that's funny. I mean, that's as good an approach as anything else. Just beg for mercy.
Well, Shemian had the flush on the turn, has a lock on this. Voskov with less than pot behind, just a 7 to go with the queens on board. And it's all into call.
Nah. Feels like a nah. Feels like a nope.
Seismic, how much did Lose end up with? In case you missed it, Lose got 61 grand for third place, plus had 30,000 in bounties.
So sick.
But a reminder, this heads-up battle is worth $90,000.
I feel like if I was going to take a shot, if I was going to play one 5K event, it would be a PKO.
Oh, ace king, king 4. So Shemian's already won 56.5 grand in bounties. Voskov's got 28k. I mean, both these guys have cashed well. This could be it. But Voskov fades the flush draw, king 8 holds, and Voskov doubles up. Still, a massive discrepancy, though, between Ola Shemian and Voskov 1986.
Spraggy must be so mad watching that 70-30 hold. Loose must be so mad watching that 70-30 hold. Pair on pair here.
Yeah. And a bet of 300,000 and over bet, which gets called.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. To jack the
No
straight.
straight. Voskov's still good.
Straight for Voskov, I mean.
Yeah. Tard asking how many Wcoops Ola Shemian has. This would be his second if he were to win. He won a 6-max event in 2018. It was a 2K buy-in, and his win was worth $112,200. This will be worth significantly more. In fact, he'll get more even if he finishes second.
There's a betting top pair.
Yeah, and now Voskov with the flush draw on the turn. Wheezy asking, is Voskov a famous player as well? We don't know their real identity. We do know they were the runner-up in the Scoop Super High Roller, the 25k event that took place earlier this year. Oh! Flush gets there. I mean, that's a straight and a flush, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, obviously not a straight flush, but a straight and a flush.
I mean, making hands is one way to win this. Probably the only way. That's straight, followed by a flush.
over betting for value here, and Shemian might just be inclined to go for the hero call and try and end it. Does. And Voskov is now playing 6.2 million. So Shemian near enough a 3-1 advantage, but Voskov on the ascent.
That's 2 double ups for Voskov. 2 more, and he'll have the chip lead. They'll have the chip lead. Three, 4, 5, 6, 8, 3, 4, 4. Per 4 is good.
Blinds are up 70,000, 140,000. And aces for Shemian. Unfortunately for him, nada for Voskov.
Brutal. Man, when is Ole Shemian finally going to run good?
Oh, I kind of feel we're back to a situation now, Joe, where it was when we were three-handed, where Shemian's now going to have to do a little bit of grinding now. And ultimately, the objective is to grind down your opponent and chip away at them.
Sure.
JR, watching the PokerStars YouTube channel, asks, where do you play this?
On the internet. Come on.
Correct. Thank you for your question. I should point out, JR, you can't play this. Chances are not many people watching this really would spend $5,000 on an online poker tournament, but also registration closed yesterday. We're down to the final 2. We're on the verge of crowning a champion. And right now, Ole Shemian is the firm favorite, but it is not a done deal.
I mean, I would be playing this. But I realize most of the people, you know, watching probably wouldn't be. Voskov over 6 million. Ooh, decides to peel there with just the jack and the 1 club. Does turn a jack, but it's no good.
Yeah.
Not a great run out for just a pair of aces, no kicker.
Jack-9 decides to raise after Voskov completes. $16 million plays 5.6 million.
Good luck trying to bluff out a 9 here, Ole.
Well, let's see if he's back on form and rivers the ace. Nope.
You know, I would love to see Ole Shemian on one of those shows. Do they have like a To Tell the Truth style show in the UK where they have 3 people in front of a panel of celebrities and they're all like, one of these people is a professional poker player who's won millions of dollars.
I think it was called What's My Line?
Like, you just imagine Ole Shemian on that show just being like, yeah, I win. I'm a killer. What can I say? Like, there's just no way. If you've ever spent time with this dude, there's just no way you would ever expect him to be such a freaking killer.
That turn card was bad for Shemian.
Oh, it was.
And gets value owned. And look at the difference now. The gap is closing.
I think Homie's got it right here, James. Would I lie to you?
I don't know if that is a UK TV show. I've never seen anything called that.
I think it is.
Right.
So my joke from before of all it's going to take is 2 more double ups and I'll have the chip lead is now 1 more double up.
Yeah. So Voskov, according to StatTrick, has 860k in total PokerStars earnings. We don't know Shemian's online results because he has them hidden, but we do know he has $17.2 million in live earnings. Voskov.
Big Ben did it says Shemian is going to choke.
I mean, we did say it wasn't guaranteed, and right now momentum seems to be within Voskov. And this is King Queen versus Ace 8. Okay, finally something going in Shemian's favor.
Finally. Good fold.
Ace King against 7-5 suited. Voskov elects to see a flop. And not a terrible board for 7-5 of diamonds. Now Shemian with top.
Nom 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 nom.
Barely got it in.
Nine 6 versus 9-5.
That old classic matchup. Marcus TV asks, who you got going to the SB this year, Joe? I don't know, whoever was in the BB last hand.
Yeah, it'll be Shemian in the small blind next on the button.
Right. I don't know, it seems like an easy question, but you know what, I shouldn't, people who are new to the game, I should just answer them. Yes, it'll be whoever was in the big blind last hand. Thank you for your question.
Ace 8 versus 9-8. And ace high still ahead.
Oh, man. Ola Shemian turns the turn. Turns the turn. And lo and behold, Voskov keeps betting.
Action check to Shemian. 2.4 million in the middle.
Oh, checks it back.
Okay, Shemian getting close to a 2-1 advantage again.
It's going so fast.
Yeah.
One, two, three. Pair of deuces, good.
Never miss an opportunity to whip out your flaming Barry. Queen deuce versus ace 10. Shemian re-raising, get to fold. And Shemian here with the best hand, ace high and the nut flush draw. Seems to have regained momentum and regained control of this heads-up battle. It's 15 million playing 6.5 million. And another flaming Barry. King deuce against fours. Ooh. Guts it in. Wow.
Way to take it down.
King deuce versus 5 deuce.
Voskov back over 7 million.
Yeah. And no doubt, look, Shemian's seen pretty much every single situation before, but you can't help be frustrated that you really had your opponent on the ropes. Had fewer than 20 big blinds, and you've kind of got to a situation now where, okay, they're not as big a stack as they once were, but still a force. I love the fact that someone just went to the effort to provide a lot of context for who Barry Greenstein is and the book he wrote and where the expression Ace on the River comes from, only for someone to completely ignore all that and ask, what does a flaming Barry mean?
Over 8 million now for Voskov.
Yeah. But the 6 on the turn gives us a rotation situation.
high,
King
doing
Jack.
well. Tough to get a call here from Queen 9, but I'm sure Voskov's going to be perfectly happy to take it down here on the turn.
Who's Barry Greenstein? Wow.
Oh, I thought you've been
That's
saying Barry Greenstein, like B-E-R-R-Y. I know who Barry Greenstein is.
Well, some people don't know who Barry Greenstein is. I believe that he is commonly known as poker legend Barry Greenstein. Have we lost you to YouTube chat, Joe? Are you actually kind of still with us?
Yeah, I don't know. Someone doesn't understand that SB means small blind in poker.
Right. Ed, you know what to do. Let Joe commentate. You worry about keeping the animals in line.
All right. Sorry, I was having too much fun over there. You're right, though. You're right. Oleshemian. Back in it.
Very much. Important to point out, at no point has he actually lost the chip lead. It's the level of that lead, the advantage he's held has slipped, but is back to better than a 2-to-1 advantage.
6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh.
Eights and sixes, the winning hand here.
Oh, no.
Can tell headshots that Barry was not in rounders. He was, however, in lucky you. Unlucky him. That's right, Becoming Saviour. All this for just 23 cents.
Oh,
That's
is
the
funny.
mark
I
of a
just
real
noticed that.
poker professional, right? You kind of literally every penny matters.
You remember that deal negotiation between Bendinelli and Jimmy Guerrero where he was like, look, we can talk deal, but I'm not even giving you 23 cents more. Don't even ask me for 23 cents more.
For less than the cost of a cup of coffee, you can battle heads up. In a 5K buy-in. That's the crucial detail you're missing.
5, 6, 7, 8. Pair of eights. Rodrigo says, it's funny how Joe has been working with poker for decades and has to count the board straights one card at a time. First of all, it hasn't been decades. It's been... It's only been... It's been 17 years. So that's not decades. Thank you.
Queen 10 versus Queen 8. We are heading towards the break now, and there is a queen on board.
Queens and tens now.
Didn't need to improve, but does. 4 hearts
Action
on
killer.
board. Check, check. But Shemian now back up to almost 18 million. Kind of back to where we almost began this heads-up battle. Voskov with the Spraggy, ace-7 offsuit. And that is good right now. And there he is again, ladies and gentlemen. Ace on the river, Barry Greenstein. Well, this is
Voskov gonna be coming back in the exact same position they started heads up in.
Oh, Voskov.
All of that ground
Voskov.
gone.
Voskov has to fold this. You can't. It's not a raise that's going to get called by a worse hand, surely. Well, you're right, Joe. When we come back from break inside of 5 minutes, that's the situation. Wizzo, 19 million. Voskov says, let's play. Let's see if Shemian takes the break, or whether we are back in more than 5 minutes, or less than 5 minutes rather. A quick check-in on the Wcoop Hall of Fame. All former players of the series, all former main event champions reside in the hall. Talal Shikirchi, the newest inductee, having won Player of the Series in 2021. Let's welcome Maria Ho back into the proceedings. Maria, I'm afraid we might be boring you unless you've seen the movie Nope.
Nope. I have not seen the movie. Not that you guys won't be boring me. So, but proceed.
Again, I want to be clear. It's not that I didn't like it. It didn't meet my expectations. I thought it was going to be a lot better. I thought it would be a lot cleverer than it was. My biggest issue with it, Joe, is I couldn't help but feel that Jordan Peele had 3 different ideas for 3 different movies, which weren't complete enough, and then basically put them together into one movie, which at its core had a not particularly original premise.
I thought that I could see why you would think that. I could see that some of the stories that were interwoven into this seemed like they were maybe more interesting or, their own standalone things. I thought this movie, I wouldn't say it's like, Everything Everywhere All at Once, right? I think is like the best movie I've seen in a long time. I say that movie's a 10 out of 10. This movie's like an 8.5 or a 9 for me. It's very rare that I pick up. Yeah, it's very rare that I pick up on all the things that a filmmaker is trying to say. Obviously, you've got the story about the thing in the sky, not to give anything away. And I think that story on its own is maybe a little disappointing, is maybe not what people want it to be. But I think that what he's trying to say about society, about filmmaking, about the ways that we sort of reconcile these things with ourselves, the way we sort of betray our own sort of better instincts in pursuit of things that are maybe frivolous or unimportant, and we ignore our better judgment and going after these things. I thought that all of that was really, really well done. And what I like best about Jordan Peele is he takes things that on the surface, that if I just explained to you what this movie was, right, what the thing in the sky is, and explained it to you, you would be like, man, what a stupid idea. What a silly concept. What a silly idea. Get Out, the same thing, right? Everyone's seen Get Out at this point. If someone was like, oh, hey, it's about like a really creepy racist family that captures black people and puts white people's brains into them, you'd be like, wow, what a dumb idea for a movie. That's a B movie. And he makes them feel really serious and real, and puts like a gravitas to it that I don't think a lot of other filmmakers could do. And this movie, not only did I like it when I saw it, I like it more the more I think about it.
Interesting. I thought Get Out was fantastic, and I think Get Out has so much more originality, is so much more going on in it, and is just as a complete movie experience is just 10 times better than this. This is fine. It's beautifully shot, by the way. It's the single biggest compliment I can pay to it. But overall, I was just like, never need to see that again. And I'll probably have forgotten about it by the end of the year. It's rare that you and I disagree this much on a film, but I really feel that this has been massively overrated by a lot of people. And I just didn't really do that for me.
There are so many movies that are about movies, and it's like I typically don't like it. This is a movie that's about movies, and I think it's masterfully done.
But the last movie about movies that you and I disagreed on was La La Land, which I still maintain is a steaming pile of turd, and you thought was glorious.
I thought it was cute. I don't really have I didn't care that it was. Is it
Whoa,
about
James.
movies? Is La La Land about movies?
What did you say about La La Land?
It's about
It's a
jazz
steaming
music.
pile.
Disagree.
It is one of the most pretentious films ever made. It is trying to emulate some of the best musicals ever made and has none of the charm, none of the originality, none of the appeal of the films that it's harking back to.
Didn't a La La Land producer play in your home game recently, Maria? Aren't you pals with someone that made La La Land?
Am I? Well, I don't know who produced La La Land. Maybe.
I mean,
but
lots of people.
Well,
You saw those
maybe
people on stage.
don't mention this conversation.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the
Let's
final
not.
table. So, Maria, ironically, you missed a huge section of Heads Up where Voskov made a huge kind of resurgence, and now we're back pretty much to where Heads Up started. So imagine the last 40 minutes hasn't happened.
Well, believe it or not, guys, sometimes I still watch while I'm on my break. I don't just go and eat hot dogs like Stapes and pay no attention to what's going on. So I did actually see Voskov make a comeback when we thought it was just going to be over. But, yeah, it looks like they're back where they started.
Well, again, this could be the start of a comeback for Voskov. All in with ace-king against king-queen. Ace-high flop. And has a lock on it on the turn. Voskov doubles up to 5.2 million. Here we go. Same narrative.
So I didn't really get anything out of the conversation, mostly because I don't know if I'm supposed to watch Nope or not now. Those were two very, very different opinions. Now
I think
don't
it's
know
worth
what to do.
watching, Maria. I do think it's worth seeing. As I said, I don't think it's a bad film. Again, probably because, when did it open in cinemas? Probably a few weeks ago. Because it's now been put on such a high pedestal, it just didn't meet my expectations. I thought it was going to be of the same standard as Get Out. It's not.
I don't think it's as good as Get Out, but I still think it's a very, very good movie and one of the best movie-going experiences I've had in recent memory also.
Well, this looks like another pot going in Voskov's direction.
Maria doesn't really go to the movies anyway.
That's true. The last movie I saw in the theater was Top Gun Maverick. So
That was a good movie.
that was, and I've never seen
Also
the
good.
original.
But that's why I think it works, because I think you take more out of it if you have seen the original, but if you haven't, it's still a perfectly strong action movie without knowing the backstory.
But I do have a crush on Miles Teller now. Speaking of crushes, James, we could also talk about that.
Joe's not watching Selling the OC. We didn't get anywhere with that conversation.
It's not that I'm not watching it. Like, I have to not watch it.
I'm actually kind of embarrassed to say that I binged it. I don't know why. I'm not embarrassed to say that I like the show, but that I watched it in one day is a little embarrassing, I think.
Wow. I haven't watched every episode. I'm only halfway through the series. The whole kind of Kayla Tyler drama is playing out at the moment. Whew. Sixes against King Jack.
I finally watched F9 over the weekend.
Yeah, they really should have stopped
wow.
after 7. Pair of fives.
Ooh,
But look at this.
Flash. James, did you see that Paul Schrader's been accused of stealing the card counter concept from a film student?
I mean, I think you're going to say, has he been accused of stealing it from himself, seeing as he's made many films with a very similar narrative, Taxi Driver to name just one?
Yeah, there was an article came out over the weekend about how a guy pitched Paul an idea that was very similar to the card counter. Wow, that was a bigger pot than I expected.
Voscob did say there was somewhere he needed to be, so...
That's true. I mean, I don't know whether you want to tell your opponent that, because, you know, Shemian could easily exploit that. Never say you're in a hurry when you're playing heads up and you've at a massive chip disadvantage. Reminder that the final bounty in play, and the way you calculate it is taking the numbers on screen, adding them together and multiply by 2. So it's about $90,000 that this heads-up battle is for. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a chop pot. And you know what they say? Everyone loves a chop pot. I think that was kind of like fine. I mean, I think it was decent. Don't think it was brilliant.
I think the worst part
it was terrible.
was that Stape's voice did seem to crack towards the end. But
yeah, I lost it. We got a gut shot, king high.
Yeah, Wizzo elected to check back on the flop, but maybe on this turn they're going to start semi-bluffing this equity.
Thank you, Nick Walsh, for plugging the latest episode of the Poker in the Ears podcast. Nick says it was a good one, guys. It was great to hear from Flexinelli himself. Looking forward to having Nick with us tomorrow for more PKO action from Wcoop 2022. Just have the small matter of closing out this World Championship event. Shemian heads up against N. Voscob 1986. Shemian has never surrendered the chip lead heads up. Voscob has made a couple of comebacks. So right now it's still very much advantage Shemian. Queen 3 raises the button. Shemian with ace jack re-raises, gets a fold. 9-7 versus King Deuce. Shemian completing. Voscob. Want to see a free flop? Yeah, why not? And flops top pair. Shemian with a gut shot, which gets there on the turn. That's the straight for Shemian.
In the belly.
Yeah.
770k. The overbets. Continuing with the overbets. Oh no. Oh no, this could be game over. 2 pair on the river for Voscob. All into call. Makes the call, and it is over. The final KO. Voscob out in second place. Olashemian is the world champion of PKO No Limit Hold'em. Congratulations to Wizzo. Gets that first place prize of 93k plus 147k in bounties. That's nearly $250,000 for Olashemian. Just 28k in bounties of Voskov. Total prize money of 121,900. But the first of the World Championship events in this series has been won by the beast that is Olashemian. And when we introduced these tournaments, Maria, to decide who is the best in the world in different disciplines, I guess it shouldn't disappoint. The very first one is won by someone who is undisputedly one of the best live and online players in the world.
Yeah, he's definitely a sicko, and especially because PKOs are a relatively new format compared to some others. You know, it makes sense that somebody who has really good card sense and just a natural understanding of how to adjust their strategy to a specific format like a PKO is going to be the person to take down the championship event.
And obviously, Joe, a little bit of disappointment that Spraggy didn't go further, but the series is but young, and there'll be plenty of opportunity for all the guys repping the red spade to make final tables, to make deep runs in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is that Spraggy's chips went to the eventual winner, so that's something.
I mean, I guess that counts for something. I'm sure he gets a percentage. He doesn't. Maria, you are back with us next Monday, because we will be covering the Six Max event. Joe, you and I will be back tomorrow. I mentioned Nick Walsh is going to be with us. It's a PKO event. We're going to be streaming. Plus, we've got the 10K High Roller on Wednesday, so 2 more streams this week. That means we'll be back at the usual time, which is 6 p.m. UK time, 7 p.m. Central European Summer Time. But for now, from Maria Ho, from Tonka, from Joe Stapleton, from me, James Hartigan, it's good night from the PokerStars Arena.